different groceries. Like they'll have their own bread, their own mustard, you know, whatever. And it's usually cheaper than whatever they charge for like the bigger brand names. So like instead of Sara Lee bread, you can get Rouse's bread and it might be $1 or $2 cheaper.
Yeah, once you get the taste for good quality bread though, it's hard to go back.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I will splurge on sourdough every now and then because that is, in my opinion, that is the best bread to do grilled cheese on. And I freaking love some grilled cheese.
Oh, grilled cheese on sourdough is okay. I like potato bread with grilled cheese.
Potato bread. I've never had potato bread.
You
That
haven't?
sounds interesting.
Oh yeah.
No.
It doesn't taste like potatoes, but what I like about it, it's like a denser bread
Okay.
than like your typical like white bread is like kind of like fluffy. There's like a more hefty
I
density to it.
I don't care for white bread because I feel like white bread it falls apart too easily. Like, or
What?
it's too mushy.
It's because
Like,
it's fake flour. That's why.
yeah, because like I'll try to put like I'll do like peanut butter and jelly on white bread, and then like when you're putting the peanut butter on, like the bread loses like half of its
It's
fluff.
because you're using cheap bread. Get
Well, it's white
get a
bread.
good but there's good quality white bread. Get yourself.
Okay.
There's a brand out there called I think it's a Dave's. What's it called? Dave's. I can't remember the name. I'll have to look it up. But it's a
Keep in
really
mind, keep in mind, the whole topic of this conversation is how bread is expensive.
yeah. And the Dave's bread. What's it called? Dave's something. I'm gonna look it up. They're amazing. It's a little expensive, so I normally don't go it. But like, just get yourself Oro Wheat. Oro Wheat's white bread is really good. Like I just get their buttermilk. I think that's a good white bread. And the potato bread is technically a white bread, but once you've had potato bread, you'll understand.
And,
It's
if
good.
you're constipated, just get the multigrain or wheat.
Yeah,
Wheat is normally what I go with. That's my go-to is wheat.
you got to get
If you're,
the
I
Oro
gotta ask,
Wheat
so,
has the extra fiber version. That's the one.
so I gotta ask, so you were homeschooled, you came from a religious background and stuff, not I would say sheltered, but I mean, did you grow up with white bread, or did you eat a lot of multigrain wheat stuff growing up as a kid?
My parents had the multigrain wheat stuff, but it wasn't because we were homeschooled or anything. It's just because they wanted to be healthy. Um, I didn't care for it. I don't like all those extra grains. They get stuck in my teeth. It's really gross. Uh, so no, I think we've always used wheat bread though, or at
Yeah,
least
when I was growing
I've
up as a
always liked
kid,
wheat bread.
my mom would always get the like really nutty whole wheat bread, but she would make peanut butter and jellies on it.
Oh
So like
no!
to this day, I like a good hearty like multigrain bread,
Yeah,
but you don't
but
put that
now
on
with
peanut
peanut
butter
butter
and
and
jelly.
jelly,
As a
like
kid, that was what I would have to. I was like, ugh.
you could do it with a turkey sandwich,
Yeah.
and you could get away with that with a turkey sandwich.
Oh, for
It's not
sure.
that bad, but
Oh no, I
yeah,
like it
sandwich
with
is
any
jelly.
other like a wholesome sandwich, but yeah, it does not go with
No,
peanut butter and jelly. Speaking of peanut butter and jelly, we are live here, Late Night Comics.
I don't know
Um,
how those two correlate live with peanut butter and jelly.
well,
I guess I'm the jelly, you're the peanut butter. Ah!
Do I get
it's
to be
it's, it's
crunchy?
called it's
Crunchy.
called bad segues, and you interrupted it.
Well,
Um,
that's a
we're
good thing. I don't know if it's bad.
Segways are good until you go off a cliff. Ah!
I need to get a
That was
script
bad.
for these guys.
That was bad. That was bad. I'm the master of ad libbing. Well, I'm not a master, but I do
No,
like
you're
ad
not a
libbing.
mastered. Good ad libbing is like flows together, like it connects, not doesn't cause chaos and whatever. We're here. It is Monday, September
It
25th
is.
on the West Coast, and it's about to be my
Still,
birthday in little under 3 hours. So apologize for the stream starting a little bit late tonight, a few minutes late. Um, I I was thrown a party. I was not expecting. So
awesome.
yeah, I'm still kind of in shock by it. I've never had a surprise party thrown for me, and some sly people at my church decided to get together and do that, and it was really awesome. So I thought I was just going to have dinner at someone's house, and then it turned down to this. So I almost canceled the stream tonight, but I was like, I don't want to cancel on these
I've had.
guys.
See, that's great if you love surprise parties. I hate surprise parties when I already have plans. It always happens to me. Like my sister, my family is like, "We're gonna throw a surprise party." I'm like, "I already have plans with somebody else tonight. Sorry." It's like, it's,
Hmm.
it's always like the worst minutes. It's like, dude, if you want to have a party with me, just tell me so I can rearrange other stuff that's going on in my life.
Well, this one's handled really well. Number one, first
So
of all, I've never
no
had a
doubt.
surprise party, so I'm just thankful. Like it's kind of cool. Like I was like, oh,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
one's ever done that for me, so I'm really appreciative. But also, like they blocked out the time because they were like, hey, you want to come over? We'll make dinner for you, you know. And I was like, oh, sure, yeah, I'll come over for a couple hours. And that's why I didn't cancel the stream because I just thought I was having dinner. And then they used that time, of course, and they took me somewhere else. And and anyways, it blew up. And I'm really appreciative. Had I known it was going to be a party, though, I probably would have canceled. But anyways, that's what's going on in my life, and this is my last few hours of being in my 40s, and I'm officially gonna be an old man like Englentine and Eric Breen.
Yeah, my sister got mad because they're like they threw a surprise party, but but nobody checked to see if I had stuff already going on. So I was like, they called me over, like, can you bring this over? Sure. And then I was like, surprise! I was like, cool. Yeah, I'm like, but I already had someone else in the car. It was in the middle of a date.
Yeah.
So
Ah.
I was like, I'm not gonna bring her in to meet the family. We're gonna go on. So and my sister's like, what do you mean you're leaving? I'm like, well, next time. I've always said this from little on. It's like, if you're gonna have a birthday party for me, let me know. None of the surprise stuff, because I just don't like surprises like that. Not
Wow.
because I get bad surprises. I just I like having a little more organization. I don't know. It's but
Clearly the
it's the
way
thought. It's the thought
clearly
that
the
matters,
way is
though.
you wanna plan out like I think like the way
Yeah.
this was handled was smart. Like, hey, are
Yes.
you free on this day? Sure. What's
Yeah.
going on? Oh, nothing. We're gonna just have some dinner. Come on over. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like
None of that for me.
surprise. Like, oh, okay. That was cool. Like it was handled really smart. I was really impressed at everyone involved. Um, and it just meant, like I said, I've never had those of you guys that have had enough surprise parties and it's interfered with your
I know.
life
I
that you can
understand.
be like,
Yeah.
screw that.
Right, I know.
I don't know. Sucks to be you, I guess. Like for me, I was like, I'm just thankful to get one. Um, so
Funny. Nah, that's
now
awesome,
I'm
man.
full. I'm like had all this food Zach, you'll be proud of me. I got a whole freaking whole piece of or a whole pie of well, not a pie, what I call it, a pizza of Little Caesars in the fridge right now that they sent home with me.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Ooh.
I didn't want to just be like, I hate Little Caesar. Like that would be like all ingrateful. So I was like, oh, thank you. Like take it.
They're listening right now to the live stream.
No.
How dare he? It's
Um.
not bad. It's not bad. Just when you reheat it, do it in the oven. Don't put it in the microwave.
Oh yeah.
Not
Don't ever microwave
the,
pizza. Any pizza. Ugh.
not the
Yeah.
air fryer.
I don't have an air fryer.
Air
so I haven't
fryer's
been
too
able to test
small.
that.
Uh,
Oh yeah, that makes sense. They do look pretty small.
One piece at a time.
One piece at a time,
yeah.
right?
You could. I guess you could do that.
Technically,
might
I
be a
could do
good
two
portion
because I have like a little.
size.
I have a little grill thing that like stacks, so I could put the piece in, then I put the grill thing on top, and then I could put another piece floating above it. So I could technically do two, but then it might start dripping on it. That's a mess. The oven's fine, but it's Little Caesars. So I'm just probably gonna eat it cold.
I do it all the time.
Teach their own. I don't like a lot of pizza cold. I know a lot of people say cold pizza is great, but there's not a lot of pizza brands that I will eat cold and like really enjoy. Like I think Pizza Hut might be the only one.
Ugh. Pizza Hut's
Every
not even
other
good
one
warm.
every other one I feel like has to be at least warm. Like Domino's or Papa John's.
That's the problem is you're just eating really bad pizza.
Well, there's not a lot of good local pizza places
Apparently
around by
not.
me.
Apparently not. But there was a lot of other really good things there. That's why the pizza didn't get eaten. I think it was there was so much,
Yeah.
and it was yeah, it was a really special night, man. I'm really I'm feeling pretty blessed.
Great.
Feeling pretty
That's
happy.
fantastic.
I didn't think anything was gonna be I thought my birthday was just gonna kind of come and go. So hear
You
that,
guys say
kids?
not the microwave pizza. I do it for like 10 seconds. So
Nasty,
it's a little warm. So it's not ice cold.
Ew.
gross.
Lukewarm pizza? Ugh.
No. Yeah, I mean,
Not for
it only takes a few minutes if you're, like maybe 5 minutes in the oven. So
The thing is that I don't have. See, you guys probably don't store stuff in your oven like pots and pans.
Oh
I
no,
I,
do you do that?
I don't have cabinet space, so I have pots and pans.
Oh.
So in order to use the oven like that, I have to pull everything out. For it doesn't make sense to do all that just for like one little pizza. What I have is actually I have one of those pizza cookers, the ones that rotate. That has the little and it has a little heater so you're basically I forget what it's called, but it's not the one. That's not the one little oven. It's the one that's on a little tray and it spins and it goes under the heat thing. So I've used
interesting.
that before too.
Oh, I've never heard
Okay,
of such a confounded contraption.
It's at Walmart.
All right, sounds interesting.
We got to make sure when you're done with it, you put a cover over it, so otherwise dust tries to get in there, and then you get that burning dust smell. Yuck.
Nice. So the real blessing that I got, since we're on the Mariko Tamaki kick right now, they managed
Every
to
stream.
get out of me like what my favorite dessert was. And so out here in San Diego, about an hour inland, is a little mountain town called Julian. And Julian is known, it's like a little like touristy kind of place. You can go and it's got like arts and crafts, and it's just this little wholesome little village type thing. But its main thing is apple orchards. And there's a couple of places there that they just make pies. And the
Ooh.
best apple pie I've ever had in my life is a place in Julian called Mom's apple pies. Or they make other kinds of pies too, but and so I had just mentioned it. I didn't think anyone was going to get me an apple pie or anything, but they actually got, not from Mom's, there's one of the competitors, Julian Pie Company, I think was the name of it. So they got that. I was like, you guys are crazy. I can't believe you went got this pie. So there's like half of it left. They sent that home with me. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't had a Julian apple pie in like 20 years. And that was a huge blessing. It was just little things like that. When you get old, you get
Yeah, different.
appreciating these like simple blessings that are meaningful. So
As you get older, and if you don't, like I said, if you come from a smaller family, we don't do a lot of family get-togethers. Like
yeah, I don't have much of a family, so
I had, like you said, I had more of that, stuff. So I mean, I take it for advantage, but you're all right. When you get older, especially like as we get older, our parents, get older and they pass away. And if you're only child, or even so, it's like you're single. It can get easily depressing when your birthday comes around. Most people hate that. Same with Christmas stuff. That's why it's always to just surround yourself, with good people. Because people who would do stuff like this for you, that you would do for them. That's the
yeah,
people you want to have in your life.
it becomes really special, like when you realize that someone, when you're young, you kind of take that for granted, especially when you're a
Yep.
kid. Like your parents will go out of the way for you, like dude, you're just like,
Yeah.
all you care about is that you got what you want, and you don't even think
Yep.
about the effort that went behind it or thought. As you get older, you realize, oh yeah, that's not a normal thing. Like as an adult, and so now, like I don't have much of a family, so to have people that aren't even really like close friends with me be willing to go out of their way like that just to give me a simple blessing on my birthday, that's like really special. That's who you want to try to surround yourself with, if you can. So I'm just
And,
feeling really
and
thankful.
people that see, especially if you're going to church, or basically anybody, people who take the time to notice, say like, hey, this person looks kind of down. Let's do something really awesome there, like doing the whole birthday thing. Just to, it doesn't have to be your birthday. Someone just giving you a cupcake, with a candle and stuff, and like, and just, hey, what's going on,
Oh, for sure. No, I was feeling
Yeah,
blessed because there was the one guy and his wife,
yeah.
who was like the only one who knew it was my birthday, and I didn't even know how he met me like a year ago, and he remembered like the whole time. And he's like, "Yeah, we'll have you over for, we'll make some dinner." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like thankful enough for that. Like I was, "Oh, just simple dinner. That'll be
Sounds
wonderful."
like
Like I'm just so happy. and then it turned into this. So I was blown away. Like I was spending most of the night kind of just in shock. Like I didn't know how to react. I was like,
It sounds like the beginning of a horror film. It's like this guy I've known for a year, but I never told him my birthday. How does he know this? It's
yeah.
like
No, I did tell him. I just, you tell people you meet like your birth, like you don't expect them a year later that they remembered.
Right.
That was
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Marani says the closest that she came to a surprise party was her 20th birthday, where her friends blindfolded her after going to a local arcade, and they drove her around, and they went to a friend's house for the party. That's awesome. And also she likes peanut butter and strawberry jam when it comes to PB&J.
Yeah, that's the best kind. Peanut
I-
butter with strawberry.
I would say just say this record toast and jelly.
Grape is overrated.
You are incorrect.
Yeah, you're correct.
Especially if you find grape jam. I'm a big advocate now that I've had grape jam. Because
What's the
jam
difference
jam
between
is
grape
better
jam
than
and grape jelly?
jam is better than jelly, and preserves is better than jam. So it's like when you get gas and you have like regular,
Yeah.
and then you have mid grade and you have premium.
Yeah.
Jelly is like regular, jam is mid grade, and preserves is premium.
Okay.
Price difference probably.
The big difference is the fruit content. I think
Yeah.
jelly doesn't even need to have fruit in it at all. It can
Yeah,
be
jelly has no
There's a bunch of
seeds.
preservatives and stuff.
Yeah, jelly has no seeds or fruit pulp in it, according to Google.
jam has to have fruit in it,
I
Yeah.
actually like the seeds. I don't like pulp, but I do like having seeds.
and preserves typically like has like actual like chunks of fruit. It's
Yeah.
it's a little but I like them all. I can stomach grape jelly or whatever, but I had grape jam and I was like, oh, this is the way to go. I think there's really
Yeah.
you can't go wrong on a PB&J. I like them all.
Yeah.
I like trying them
Yeah.
all.
Like jelly, basically here it says right here, jelly is made using fruit juice. Jam is made using the whole entire fruit, and it's been smashed or crushed. And that's
Okay.
so
Yeah,
it's like
jam usually
imitation
has a
versus real.
texture.
It's imitation versus real. That's what I'd say.
Right. Yeah, like when you go to the
I like the fake stuff.
when you go to the soda fountain and it has like the Minute Maid lemonade, that's like jelly versus actual like simply you go to your grocer's freezer, they get like the Simply lemonade, it's like fresh,
Yeah.
real squeezed lemons. That's the jam. But I don't know why we're talking about that.
I don't know either.
Is anything
We
else
always
going on
end up
besides
talking about
me?
food.
Well, I just had a lot of food tonight, so it's kind of been on my mind. Before we get into our two books tonight, anything you guys want to mention or going on, or we just get to the books?
Not really. Been kind of a slow weekend over here for me, so just taking it one day at a time.
All right. Well, we got two books tonight we're going to be covering. As always, if you've never watched us before, we're sorry. And if you've been a regular, long-time
done.
listener, we're also sorry.
I'm done apologizing for being me. Everybody here by now knows me. They know what to expect. So
That's okay.
I
I'm apologizing for you being you. You don't have to
Okay.
be sorry.
you can apologize for me.
There you go.
I don't apologize. They come here to see Zach because of the way he is.
Who's seeing me? I'm not even on screen.
When they hear that Zach's on here, like, oh my gosh, that guy.
They're
They come out
seeing
because
they're seeing you in their mind's eye.
Their mind's eye. Okay.
Yeah,
like
they're
they're
hearing
hanging
your
on your
voice.
every word, bro.
Yeah, it's like the old days when they just had to listen to talk radio. There was no movies. There was no like TV. Everyone just gathered around the radio.
Dude, radio, like audio dramas and audio theater, is highly underrated.
Oh,
I
I agree.
freaking love that stuff.
I don't know. I think there's something very, how do I say, like drawing. I think I like listening to podcasts or talk radio or audio dramas, or I do audiobooks sometimes. I don't necessarily always need visual. I think there's a lot that can be said for just the audio medium. So
I've seen your hands. I don't need any more.
okay, thanks. Um,
I'm saying you showed us your hands. We know you're human, or a robot that had hold of human hands. We don't know, but it comes down to the content, not what the person looks like.
I suppose. Sure.
I
Yes.
mean, Zach is the ratings until he says he
is.
likes Fantastic Four.
Well, you didn't say good ratings.
That's true. There's a lot of bad rated shows out there. I mean,
Now,
y'all review a
to be
bunch of bad
fair,
rated shows.
Fantastic Four is not as bad as I thought it was going to be, and it's definitely not as bad as Captain America has been for the last several years. And
That's
that is
true.
our first book for the evening. Captain America has been languishing for quite a while now. And when I say languishing, I mean absolutely painfully hideous.
Yeah.
I play Coates.
Captain America fans would be begging for a mid book to read.
I
It's
mean, the
been
Colin Kelly was kind of mid. It was better, I think, than Coates, but it wasn't
Not that much.
great. It wasn't. It's not beating Brubaker anytime soon.
I
It's nowhere
would
near Brubaker's level.
I would
Yeah.
even suggest that that is why that book even has positive thoughts to it, is because it's been so bad. You know, it's
Since
like if
Brubaker.
you're starving, you'll eat out of the dumpster. You know, you're like,
Well,
oh, this is
yeah,
good.
there's that.
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
um. So yeah, I mean, and look, I don't need everything to be Ed Brubaker. Ed Brubaker did a fantastic Captain America run. I'm really just trying to compliment, saying something nice about Fantastic Four, that Ryan North was doing better than Captain America. I mean, it's not just Coates that was bad. Mark Waid did a hideous job on Captain America.
Oh,
Like
really?
before Coates, yeah. I mean, Captain America's been garbage for a long time. I mean,
You
going
bigot.
back
There's been
to
no Captain America before Coates.
remember
That's
before that, it was what's his name that was ruining Spider-Man.
Zeb Wells.
No, the
Dan
guy
And
before
Slott?
Zeb, Spencer.
well, Spencer
Nick
actually
Spencer.
no. Spencer made it. He's written the best Spider-Man run
The
since
best Spider-Man run?
since 2000 since One More Day.
Mm. Anyways, Spencer is the
Yeah.
one that gave us Nazi Cap. So
That's
we can
right.
go all
That's
the way
right.
back to 2017, the Hail Hydra, Captain America's a Nazi, surprise. That was Spencer. So it's been quite a while. Um, so J. Michael Straczynski of One More Day fame, just so we can remember that Straczynski is fallible, but he is
His
also
horror run was good.
he is a noteworthy writer, just because he's had some horrible missteps. He's also very talented. He wrote one of the best sci-fi TV shows of all time in Babylon 5. Um, he's generally a good pick. He's one of the main architects of the AWA universe. Written several books over there. One of them, RDV, was a touting. What was it? The what was it? The one you liked?
By Straczynski.
Mm-hmm.
I liked him on Thor.
What was the one where they had like they were like telekinesis, or what was it?
Telepaths.
Telepaths. Yeah,
I liked
you
him
like
on.
that book.
He's currently writing the Madness right now. Currently enjoying that.
Is he writing that one? I didn't know he was.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Straczynski he's good enough that I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't just expect him, but I also realize that he's not a guaranteed winner. Like, it's possible for him to mess up. So I went into this book with a little trepidation, I'm hoping for the best, cross my fingers. Straczynski, I know, can do good, and I came out pleasantly surprised. What was your guys' anticipation of this book?
I was mixed because I was like, okay, is this gonna be Straczynski? It's his first time he's come back. So I was like, he hasn't written anything since he did that little Thor, was it 800, whatever? He did a little story, which was the best out of Kate's book. But and then he hasn't really touched Marvel. So after reading Telepaths, I was kind of like, okay, now is Marvel gonna mud him down and make him write semi woke? Because that's the only way he can work at Marvel now.
Mm-hmm.
Is if you let them change things. Honestly, so I was like mixed going into this, and not only that, the price. I was just like, the last time I tried to read a Captain America in the past 20 years was the Ta-Nehisi Coates. And I was like, I had no idea going into it. I started reading, I was like, ain't that bad. And then by issue 6, and it's like, what the hell? And then it's just like, so I kind of didn't really have faith in him doing a good story, even though he is a good writer. And I don't blame him for One More Day. That was another reason why he left the comic book industry. It was because, people hated him. Is because he was mad because they made him write that story.
Uh,
And it's a lot of editorial interference. So that's why he hasn't really done anything with Marvel. He's been doing his own stuff. Like, it'd be
Well,
like
Zach-
Brubaker writing Winter Soldier and then them telling, "Hey, Winter Soldier, guess what? We're gonna change this." No,
Zach, you're the optimist of the group here. What was your expectations and anticipation for the book?
Well, I hadn't read a ton of Straczynski stuff. I didn't read a Spider-Man. I didn't even really read a lot of his Thor until later. But he's got a big name. He's got a recognizable name. A lot of people know his name. I was thinking maybe it would be definitely better than Ta-Nehisi Coates. And I was expecting it to be better than the Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly series,
Mhm.
which wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't. I don't know, it just wasn't my cup of tea. It ended up becoming more of the Captain America and Friends show. There were some
Yeah.
cool concepts there, but no, I went into this and I actually dug it. There were some things where I was kind of on the lookout to see, because I know with Marvel, with a bunch of their writers or the way their editorial works, it's like they can't help themselves. If they try to, make a way to make it sound like Captain America votes uber left wing, or
Right.
some way they make it go to where he disagrees and hates conservatives. I was kind of on the lookout for that,
Right.
which I hate being on the lookout for that. If
Right.
I'm
Yeah, exactly.
doing something that's entertaining, I kind of just want to be like, I just want to relax and read
Right.
a
You
book.
want
I
to
don't
let your
want to be on
guard
the
down. You
lookout.
don't have to be like, okay, where's it coming? When's the shoe gonna
Where's it?
drop?
Right. Where's the ambush? But yeah, I didn't really see a lot of that here. I kind of went in apprehensive about it because I had heard one or two other reviewers. I say reviewers lightly. They're like black pilled reviewers. Saying all these terrible things about it. But then I went in and I read it and I was like, you know what? There's really none of what they were saying was accurate, really.
Right.
So yeah, I actually enjoyed this a lot. Now it's not my favorite kind of comic where there's I like with comics, it's an action medium. You
Mm-hmm.
should be able to have a lot of action in it. It didn't have a ton. It had a little bit, but it was much more of a slower story, a slow burn kind of.
Right.
But I like some of the concepts of it. I like the some of the ideas behind it.
But
So
it had your boys in it.
it did. Which boys?
What, your three boys and the lady?
Oh, my Fantastic Four. Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I thought
yeah,
I was like, oh, here's the Zach moment. He gets his Fantastic
yeah,
Four.
yeah. A little moment. Yeah, it was a nice little moment there. But actually, I'm not gonna lie though. Even though that is one of my favorite teams, that kind of took me out of it for a bit, because I was
Yeah,
like,
it was a weird moment. It kind of was like,
it
wait,
was
what's
really
happening?
like I know Cap and the Fantastic Four. I know they're they do team ups and stuff, but it's just at the same time, it's like, what's going on here? Yeah, so it took me out of it for a second, but I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna pick up issue number 2. And we'll just kind of see where it goes from there. I am interested in this whole, let's look at the time from when he lost his parents at 14, and we know he didn't enlist in the army until he was 18. So I like, because there's like this 4-year period that you don't really, there's not a lot of canon, I guess, or a lot of lore about Steve in that time. So I like that he's exploring something, I guess, that hadn't been looked at before.
So let's go through the book a little bit, and maybe we can talk about some of the specifics. And I'll kind of go over what happened. Now, this is a bigger book. RDV did mention it's a little pricier, but it is about a 1.5 issue size comic. it does feel like it's got some weight to it. I was reading it going, man, this book keeps going and going. I didn't feel like it was overstaying its welcome, but it definitely did not have that feel of like a lot of comics I read where I'm like, I blink and it's over. Um,
Yeah.
this definitely felt like a lot was going on, and I really felt like you get your money's worth of entertainment. I also think the art, while not my favorite style overall, I'm not going to complain. I think that this artist has a lot of potential, and I think he's a decent look for Captain America. It opens up very kind of weird to me. This is kind of almost like the way like a DC comic I would expect more to open up. A little absurd. Got a villain in a giant robot dog thing climbing a building. I kind of expected Superman to swoop in, but um, we get this kind of like monologue, like internal monologue voiceover, which is a fun style for me. I really enjoy that kind of narration, and Captain America kind of starting it off like this is a good it's kind of important to note that this book is like a jumping on point. So number one, maybe you've never been a Captain America fan, maybe you only know him kind of loosely because you watch some Marvel movies. um so it starts off and Captain America's got his internal monologue. Lots of people wonder where superhero stories get started, not the origins necessarily, just the latest whatever it is. Sometimes it starts like this, and I felt like that was a really fun kind of like bedtime story opening, if you will. And it's just about this crazy villain who's doing Captain America gets involved, and it's a fun, you talk about action scenes. I like this whole scene. He jumps across the building on his motorcycle. He's driving through this office. There's a little bit
That
of
actually was
levity.
one of my favorite. Yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes in the whole book, actually.
Sorry, coming through on your left. Oh, sorry, just riding his Harley through this office. And then, the villain's going after the guy he's going, and Captain America's comes up and jumps his bike, like right into his face, and then the robot crashes. And that's all we need to know. That's just it's more of like, hey, this is a day in the life of Captain America. What's it like to be a superhero? And we cut over to Steve Rogers living in his apartment, and apparently the building is being sold, and the guy who managed it is like been fired, and he's leaving, and Cap's like, wait, what? Like, what am I gonna do? Like, and he's like, then he gets mentioned, like, yeah, the building's being sold cheap or whatever. He's like, wait, how cheap? To immediately when he said that, my mind went to Tony Stark. Oh, he's gonna get Tony Stark to buy it. But actually, what he does is he gets Tony Stark to loan him the money, and Cap buys the apartment complex. So I
Yeah,
thought this
I
was
I
kind of
like
fun.
that. Yeah.
He buys it, and um, under new ownership, rent controlled, renovations begin immediately, and then we get the splash page, Captain America. So it's like, okay, it kind of sets the tone of the book, what to what to expect. And so then we get a nice little heart moment where we see Cap is, he's a hands-on building owner. He's doing a lot of the renovations himself. And he's talking to Miss Rosen, who's a good, sweet old lady. She's bringing him food, and she also happens to help the homeless and do all these things. And yeah, I thought it was a good heartfelt moment. We get to this scene here where Cap's reminiscing about his own father, and he's talking about his mom would go and visit her grave. Um, and we see like the years go by, she's getting older and Steve's growing up. And then there's the final panel where until it's like, for a long time, it's like twice a year, every year for as long as she could, until she couldn't. Whatever they said to each other after that, I couldn't hear it. I just heard the rain. And I thought that was really this was a very poetic moment for Straczynski. I really liked this. Then we cut back to the present of Steve Rogers talking to this woman, and we're kind of getting some character building here about kind of what drives Steve as a person. And to some people this might be old news, old hat, but every comic is someone's first comic, and so I think for a number one issue this is very appropriate. And he's kind of telling her this story, and she asks him like, how did you survive? And we see this moment where Steve's just kind of looking. He says like, I got by. Then we get a flashback to young skinny Steve Rogers um, standing up, and he's like, anyways, back to the president. Gotta get back to work. And I thought this was a really cool transition. He's looking up at the building that he's renovating. He says, "Some stories start the same way I did. They start small." And then we see
Yeah.
like how he's faded away. Now we're into a flashback where the building is new and it's young Steve Rogers, and it's like, "Hey, Stevie," and this is the guy. Um, I think this is the guy that's talking to him about the building, and now Steve's had to live on his own from 14 to 18 without a parents. And this is something I didn't ever know about Steve's history, and doesn't have a place to live. This guy's like, "Hey, I got these things I can try to help you wherever you go." He's like, "Oh, don't worry, I always land on my feet." And so we see that Steve struggled, and this was kind of a touching moment for me that I related to in a little bit of a way. I was kicked out of the house pretty young and had to fend for myself, and seeing this like kind of emotional moment as Steve's reminiscing, and we kind of cut back to the present as young Steve's walking away, and then we fade to the present. We see old Steve looking up at the old building. I don't know. That just it was kind of it stirred emotion in me, and like I think any writing that can do that is good writing. Then we get to this moment where uh, Sue shows up, and I think we'll pause here. So I'll let you guys, because this is kind of a long book. I want to let you guys have opportunity for any feedback of what we covered so far. Is there anything that you wanted to comment on or add to, or something I missed?
You can tell the difference in this storytelling versus other writers, as Straczynski is not just a TV show writer creator. This is a guy who actually has talent for writing. So he's actually putting it. You're getting a really heartfelt moments in here, and like I said, I love that. Because when I first said this, I saw the description as like past and present. I'm thinking like, oh, no, not Jason Aaron. Jason Aaron, Thor from 3 different times. Quite a
Right.
adventure story. I didn't want that. I was like, no, please don't. So like I said, he's actually giving you a flashback during the main story, and I think Zach and I discussed it. It's kind of like Arrow, a flashback, but the way he's doing this with the flashbacks are actually gonna like fall into the story because like something from his past is gonna affect his present. And now I imagine Straczynski is gonna introduce a new character. Let's see how it goes with that. But overall, like I love this. The transition when he goes into the current building and then slowly turns into the new building.
Yeah.
My only complaint about this is the art. I would love to have Chichetto on there. Since Chichetto wasn't doing anything let him do this. He's off at Daredevil. That'd be awesome. But
Yeah, but
Well,
he's getting ready. He's getting ready to do Ultimate Spider-Man with Jonathan Hickman, though.
I know. So at least we're getting him back. But Steve is done properly here. I love this. And some people are gonna complain online. The fact is, Steve called Tony for a loan.
Hey, he didn't go like force himself into Tony's house and say,
Yeah,
"Hey, buy this building,"
yeah.
like Daredevil did.
Yeah,
in, Zdarsky.
he didn't call Tony an asshole and be like, and then ask for a handout.
Yeah,
Right.
Steve did the right way. He goes and asks for a loan off of his Avengers
Yeah.
payroll, and
And
he's like, obviously, he means to pay it back.
so what's also great about this so far is that there's no connection to anything in the Marvel universe. This seems like a standalone story. In this universe, you could just pretend that the fact that Tony is still fine. They haven't been ruined yet. He's still, in charge as, CEO. So when he asks for money, yeah. So, and that's all you need. You don't need any more of that. So I love this as kind of like a standalone story so far. That's my problem when you get we discussed Batman and Robin last week, and there was traces of the Chip Zdarsky current events into this. This feels like a standalone story. And
yes and no. Mostly, there was a part here like where we get this little editorial. See Captain America sent Liberty #8, where this whole scene of like what's going on. The reason like the building is being sold is because of events that happened in that
but
story.
that's about it. It's not nowhere else in the story. It doesn't. The story has really nothing to do with it. They could have just edited that out if they really wanted to, and it still would make
You're
sense.
right. It doesn't rely on any of these other books.
Yeah, which I
Yeah.
like.
But
Yeah, I really like just me. I mean, with the art, you're talking about the art style. I do like with the colorists how like whenever you go back and you look at younger Steve, I do like how the color has like this almost like sepia tone
It's
Yep.
a lighter tone.
to it. I do like that with the flashback. It's a nice little subtle a subtle change, and I feel like it really helps add to the vibe and the
And
atmosphere.
this also, there's no anti-America speeches. This is Steve. Steve easily, if this was somebody else trying to use code, so he'd be complaining about America screwed over my mom. That's why my mom died. And I had to live by myself. Fuck America. You know, this actually felt like a normal Captain America.
Yeah.
This felt like I was going back to the 80s.
Yeah, no, this is the Steve Rogers I like, is the, the wholesome mom and apple pie kind of, you know,
Willing to help out others. You know,
yeah, helps out
Couldn't-
others. He's just a good, wholesome American kid, and not ashamed to be white and blonde haired, heterosexual. just can just
Right.
yeah. It is. We shouldn't have to feel like praising the comic for that. Like, that should just be something that we don't even have to mention. But it's sad that we live in a time
Mhm.
now where that's noteworthy, that we have to, we talk about those things. Um, all right, Zach, what about you? Did you get to say everything you wanted, or?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. So, speaking of being isolated in the Marvel universe, we get a little bit of crossover here where Steve's out doing stuff, and all of a sudden, Invisible Woman shows up. Hey, what's going on? Oh, Psycho Man, blah blah blah. She kind of gives him this whole spiel, which I thought was just it played off really funny, because when you read the dialogue, it's like Psycho Man managed to bring back his daughter by kidnapping one from elsewhere in the multiverse and is gathering an army in Subatomica in the microverse. And Steve's like, wait, did you really just say multiverse, microverse, Subatomica, Psycho Man, and I'm guessing Psycho Daughter all in the same sentence? And I just think it's funny because it's a
Yeah.
nice contrast about how the Fantastic Four's world versus Steve's world. Like, he's like in this much more grounded reality where it's like, yeah, I'm dealing with people like getting evicted from their apartment, and I'm trying to fix this up, and I beat a guy in a robot. And you guys are like in the multiverse, subatomic, blah blah, like, it's just, I thought it was really funny. And like her expression is very just kind of deadpan, because like this is normal to her. She's like, yeah, Reed and Johnny and Ben went on ahead to hold them off as long as they can, but I know you had plans, but we could really use your help. And he's like, oh yeah, of course, Captain America, sure. And she's like, how much time do I have to get ready? Not much. And then we cut over, and then, Fantastic Four doing what Fantastic Four do, and it's all crazy nutballs stuff. And again,
All this.
this is
I
really
was
to
gonna
kind
say.
of go ahead. Say what you're gonna say.
I was just gonna say. This little panel here is better than anything that Ryan North's done in Fantastic Four.
You haven't been reading
Oh.
Ryan North's Fantastic Four. You can't say that.
Why would I have to when I got this right here, which is
But
awesome?
that's a
No.
disingenuous statement,
Don't,
though. You
Zach,
can't say something.
Zach, he's pushing your button. Just ignore. um,
Man, this
so
is the best Superman writer ever.
it's interesting because I love there's like basically two narrations going on at the same time. There's what you see in the dialogue and the characters, but then you've got this voiceover of Captain America telling you like how the stories go, sort of thing. And so he says at the end of the panel, and then this happens. And it shows you, and he's this whole point of the story is just to tell you, like, the dear reader, like, this is what it's like to be a superhero, day in the life of a superhero. He says, the whole time we're fighting, I'm thinking, I wonder if Reed will let me keep the jetpack. And so he gets back home, and he's poor old, and he's pooped, and he lays down on the grass, and he's kind of resting. He's like, oh, so tired. Hello, front lawn. And then he says, and some stories, well, you get the idea. And all of a sudden, back to his reality. Some criminals are getting away. Police are chasing them, and cuts off this van, which is this contractor, and it's his family. What is it, Daddy? And so the car crashes. So the dad's one of these rare individuals that in New York that actually cares about someone else. So he's like, stay here. He's going to help. But these are criminals. So they're getting away with the money or whatever. And all of a sudden, Captain America is on the scene, and he's fighting them. but because he's so exhausted, apparently like a couple hours in the microverse or whatever is like days in the real world. And he's talking about how exhausted he is, and he's like, just one millisecond of a mistake is almost my last. But this guy's like, hey, Cap, behind you. And the guy shoots and just barely misses Cap. And this is a really cool panel. I like how you can get the feel of Captain America kind of spinning backwards and throwing his shield. And then the way the next panel shows that same shield hitting him, but he didn't have to redraw the shield. I thought that was really good conveyance of story, like illustrated storytelling here, sequential.
Also, you said that backwards. A few hours in the real world is, versus days
Oh,
in
okay.
the microverse. Yeah.
Yeah,
he was only in the microverse for a few hours, but it felt like days.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, 2 hours in normal Earth is like day is days in Subatomica. So he was
It's
in
like Narnia.
So his experience was 2 days, but he was only gone in this world for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So he basically has 2 days of exhaustion, is I think what the story was trying to say.
Yeah.
This was a really cool. I'm a big proponent of sequential art. I talk about it from time to time, and I think it's a lost thing for many artists. You want to be able to tell the story visually without having to explain what's happening all the time.
Not much text here. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and then we just the song cuts in, which I unfortunately don't know the tune, and we're just seeing the lyrics, and this cuts in, and it's a flashback as we're getting to Steve, who's now kind of homeless, and singing this song, which is presumably in the 30s when this would be taking place. And we can kind of see he's a little destitute. His building's been condemned, etc. He's working hard. He's trying to survive. He's doing all these different jobs, keeping positive. We can see that assholes aren't just in the 21st century, that the last century had their plenty of assholes too. Some guys, he's trying to sell newspapers, they splash him. He's like, Well,
it's actually because the little kids over there have the fire hydrant open.
Right, but the car takes the opportunity to like splash him. And then this guy, I'm not sure who this guy is.
That's
like his one friend, I think, because he's not friends with Bucky. Because Bucky and him in the comics, they don't meet until Steve joins the army. So
Right.
This is like his one friend. I think it's Arnie is his name.
Yeah, Arnie, that's his name. But if you're familiar with the MCU, this character feels like what Bucky was in the MCU.
Yeah,
kind of an older friend. So he's like, hey, and apparently Arnie is not hurting for money. And Arnie's like, man, these newspapers, like, because if you're a newspaper boy back in these days, you kind of had to buy the papers and then you resold them. So Steve, not only did he lose these papers, but now he's gonna owes the money for them. He has he's but Steve's really a kind of a proud person. This guy Arnie's like, let me buy these off your hands. He's like, no man, I'll take care of it. And so Steve goes back, he's doing all this work and he's just hustling, and we get to see he kind of had a hard life. We cut back to the present and we see this character, Mr. Kim, and he introduces himself. He's like, hey, Mr. Kim, Steve Rogers. And the kid's like, Daddy, Captain America. He's like, I saw what you did earlier. Buy you a cup of coffee? And so he sits down, and this is kind of a cool moment. And Steve's just like, hey, man, like, I just got this new property. Like, I noticed your contract, blah, blah. He's like, I need a hand. So he hires the guy.
Well, actually, context is the guy who mentioned earlier by the lady who's going to give him food. She's giving food to the people who've been living in their family. He's been living in the van. So this is the guy that helped him out. The guy who's been living in his van. So he's going to give him a job.
Which is one of the most Captain America things.
Right, but this is also the guy that saved him from getting shot.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, it just all worked out really well, full circle. And then we cut over to 2 years ago, somewhere in South America. And this is where the plot line of where we're going to see the ongoing series presumably go. Everything up to this point has been sort of like backstory and character building and kind of just like, all right, here's where we're kind of setting you up. Who's Captain America? Now let's introduce a villain, and we get to this felt very Spielbergian, like Indiana Jones type thing. This guy is a rich billionaire. He's looking for presumably something like the Fountain of Youth. Because this guide's like, "What are you seeking?" And he's like, "What does anyone my age want, man? Well, a second chance, a fresh start to do over
Yeah.
youth life." And then, of course, the guide is very wise, like as the trope in the movie is like, "Well, uh, some might say that going to the Keeper of Death in search of life is the task of a madman." And he's like, "Yeah, well, people told me that my whole life, right up until I made my first $1 billion. And then they all wanted to work for me. How did you make this vast sum?" To which he responds, "By walking across an ocean of blood in my bare feet." And that's how you kind of know that, oh, this guy's a villain. He's not just like a treasure hunter. This guy is willing to do any measure of immoral act to suit his own needs. And I really like the efficiency and eloquence here of Straczynski. He doesn't mince words. He doesn't have to beat around the bush. You just get a few lines of dialogue and you instantly know, like, this is a Lex Luthor
Yeah.
type villain.
And like his guide is being the moral guy compass, ask him
Yeah.
Jiminy Cricket. It's like, are you really should
Right.
this?
Right. So there's some nice dialogue back and forth, and just asking him, questioning what he's doing and so forth. And he's like, "Okay, well, we're gonna take a break. It could be
Surprise.
another hour to go." And the guy's starting to get upset, and he's just like, man, he like feels like he's wasting his time. He's like wondering, why don't you have any maps? And he tries to tell him, like, this sort of thing we can't map for various reasons. There's a whole thing about it. I don't want to go too much detail. You can read it if you want to know, but it's really interesting. But this guy just is like, I just know where to go. That's all I'm going to trust. I don't need, and you just need to trust that we'll find it when we find it. And eventually the guy's getting upset and he's impatient, and finally he's just like, "We reached the temple an hour ago." And because he's trying to boss him, Ryan's like, "Senior Lane, I do not work for you. And we reached the temple an hour ago." And he's like, "How the?" And he's like, "There's a nexus approaching a moment that can transform the world, and it must be stopped at all cost. And you, or at least the parts of you that matter, are all that is essential to the task." And like in true tropey demonic form, the madman who seeks to sell his soul for power is actually the one being used. These powers that be don't care about you, and they will use you for their purposes. And you're just an idiot to do it, but who cares? For the story purposes, now Mr. Lane is Satan? I don't know. Like, what do we call that? I don't know what you call him.
It's basically like it's not Mephisto, but he's by some ancient evil. Basically, I love how he was asking, he was basically prepping him, probing him for like, oh, is this something you really want to do? Because I wonder if this demon needs a willing host. Like it needs
Yeah.
yeah.
Because he's searching for something. What does he call him? Asmodee, the immortal one, the undying one.
Yeah, the undying. But he said, but I love it because the guy, that part right there, he says, "Why are you smiling?" I find that funny. I'm amused by the dog that comes running at his master's call and thinks the approach was his idea.
Yeah,
it's so sinister.
Yes.
So yeah, going into the thing, and also it's like you find out it's like I am the guy you're seeking, and like you're a fool.
Right, right. This whole played out. I just loved how this played out. And it also just kind of makes you have more respect. Like, this demon thing is no joke. Then we cut back.
We cut back. From Shazam.
Oh yeah, kind of. We cut over to Bangkok, Thailand 1 month later, and this young guy, which looks kind of like Tony Stark, sits down and says, "Mind if I join you?" No point in wondering where the limo is. I canceled it. Same for your ticket to New Zealand. And, this lady's getting annoyed. We find out this is actually, what's his name? Lane. Travis Lane. That's his name. Travis Lane. The guy we just saw.
Guy we just saw? Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah.
And he's
because they talk about how he went missing like years ago. like how he should be like this old guy.
You're pushing
Yeah, so
90.
she's like,
I
yeah,
got better.
last I heard, Travis Lane was pushing 90. I got better. Impossible. You of all people should know that under the right circumstances, the impossible is possible. So they're having a little
She's a leader of AIM.
back and
Oh,
forth.
yeah.
She's one of like the best scientists that AIM's ever had. He's
Yeah.
seeking her out, and so forth. She's trying to recruit him, and she's like, "Look, Travis, I work with data and trend lines and logic, not big talk. If this is what you say it is, then prove it to my satisfaction on those terms right now, or take a hike. You have 5 minutes." And then it's like 5 minutes later. "So I'm going to need your services. Done. And instructions to the remaining AIM. I'm starting to make calls." So whatever he said, it won her over. She went from extremely skeptical to just whatever you say, I will serve you. So he must have had a good line. And so she's now on his team. We cut back over then now to Steve Rogers. And he's saying, "I don't care if you have a uniform, a costume, or a suit, or jeans and a t-shirt. Every day there's a new story. Stories about possibilities, stories about hope, stories about your future, and stories about your past that start quietly, slowly, and take you by surprise." And so this is an interesting. We cut back to the past. Now, Steve had been given an offer, had found a place that would give him rent, and they would give him 3 months. He just needed to pay, or he needed to pay for 3 months up front, which is going to be $30. He's talking about how he's got $25.45, and this hot dog vendor's going to buy. He's like, "Fresh hot dogs, 10 cents, ice cold soda." And Steve's just like, you can know he's hungry. Look at him, he's skinny, barely eats. And he's like, "Oh, that sounds so good." And he's like, "Nope, got to get the other 55 cents first, then we can eat." And all of a sudden, this guy comes out of nowhere. And he's like, "Hey, buddy, you look like you could use a ham sandwich." Yeah, old line. And he's like, "No, man, I'm serious. There's a rally going back that way, and they're giving out sandwiches, burgers, soda, all you can eat." And he's like, "On the level? On the level."
On the level.
Yeah.
On the level. I'm
And
gonna
he's like,
bring that back.
Thanks,
Yeah,
brother.
bro.
Forget about it. Which is, I would love that too. It's like old slang, old Italian, New York. "Forget about it." And so Steve's like, "Oh, he's like, "Oh, great, cool. I'm gonna get these." Sees the kids playing, everything, and he looks over and come closer, everybody. Get your food, gather around. And so the voiceover at this point was like, because some things you don't expect to happen in your own neighborhood, your own backyard. And he looks over and sees like the serving, and everyone just looks normal and happy. "In the next few years, America will rise as she has never risen before. She will be more powerful than she has ever been because our partnership will ensure the future and peace and progress. We will do this together with your help and loyalty and patriotism and your support." And Steve looks shocked. What could he be looking at? He's got his sandwich. He's hungry. "Step up and show your loyalty, show your patriotism, and show the world who you are. Join the German-American Bund. Sieg Heil." And we see
Yeah,
now,
this is a real thing too.
Yeah.
this is something that a
was
lot of people don't know. Yeah, there was a lot of Nazi support in the United States. Now,
Well, they don't talk about it because one political party was all for it, and they don't like to admit it.
right.
Yeah.
So this is I found this very interesting because obviously Captain America is very tied into the whole Nazi thing. I liked this, but I'm also kind of apprehensive because told from a modern perspective, from modern Marvel, I'm wondering if they'll let them tell this story or if they'll try to like revise history and be like, this was a Republican convention where they were trying to be with the like I don't know where it's
Right.
gonna go, but like you said earlier,
FDR
Zach,
was a hero.
yeah, right. When right when FDR was the one who was friends with the Nazis, so I'm curious. Because I just don't see modern Marvel letting them tell this story like that. So at best, I just expect they'll keep it neutral and not bring any party into it and just be like, these were just Nazi sympathizers and just not mention anything else.
I
But at
trust
worst,
on that. But
yeah, at worst they'll be like,
Straczynski, I trust him.
I do trust him, but remember, one more day. So
Yeah, I remember his editors. Yeah.
You also remember though, after one more day, he quit Marvel.
true.
He left.
True.
He didn't work for
That
Marvel.
is true. That
True,
is true.
but
And he came out and said, It was not his idea. It was Marvel's.
He's
But
also got me blocked on Twitter, so I'm gonna assume that he's got me on some kind of a blockchain. So I don't know.
that's another,
Really?
yeah.
I'm not blocked at all. Neither
Oh,
count.
really?
Yeah. But
But
this is
double
the
but.
same Marvel that turned Captain America into a Nazi.
That is true. That is true.
And also, if this is continuity, this Steve Rogers is a Hydra, or will be.
No. Hydra Cap ended up being a different Captain America from another dimension. So if this is
I
our
thought the
normal
replacement
Cap,
was a different Captain America. They used the Cosmic Cube.
no, they used the Cosmic Cube to bring in a different Captain America from a different dimension. And he's the one who was Hydra Cap.
I thought the Cosmic Cube brought in the new replacement non-Hydra. Cap.
I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, no, because that's the whole thing.
I have to go back and revisit Secret Empire.
You are,
now.
because that's the whole thing that Marvel has not fixed properly, is because you say this Steve Rogers has been the Steve Rogers this whole time, and he's been Hydra this whole time. That means when you go back and read the old Jack Kirby Captain Americas, that's Hydra Captain America. Because if your fix is to use the Cosmic Cube and then redo reality and make this, like, okay, that's fine. This new Captain America's not, but the whole past you're saying was, which means this guy is previous to that. Marvel just needs a Crisis on Infinite Earths. Like, they just need to rewrite their history so we can get rid of One More Day, get rid of Hydra Cap. Just these didn't exist.
Get rid of Krakoa.
So the only reason I was going over Straczynski's Twitter thing. He has a frequently asked questions. He says we follow the as well rule is to look at that before you post, because so many people are asking redundant questions. So if you ask a question that's been asked several times without looking at his frequently thing, because he has stated in his profile, that could be why he blocked you.
That's a dumb reason to block someone.
That seems like an extreme reason to block somebody.
People are ornery to get older.
That's dumb. I mean, I can see him not answering because it's in the fact, but the block,
right?
That's stupid.
Unless you said something else he didn't agree with it, and he blocked you or something. I don't know.
Zach is way too nice to block.
I know.
He never gets confrontational.
Heather Anto should unblock me.
Zach probably said that, it's like, what? Yeah, Straczynski was great until he wrote One More Day. He sucks.
I still haven't read. I don't read solo Spider-Man. Straczynski wrote Fantastic Four, which was really good. So I don't care that much about Spider-Man. So
well, that's unfortunate for you, because next issue features Spider-Man.
Next issue does. Yeah, you're right. The next one does. So
coming up next, Spider-Man. When Spider-Man interrupts date night to ask for help thwarting the Sinister Six's latest plot, Captain America begrudgingly obliges. Meanwhile, more and more of Steve Rogers' former enemies are being recruited by a mysterious new threat, one seemingly connected to a threat Steve faced long before he picked up a shield.
You know, it'd be awesome if Straczynski said "F you" to Marvel and just put having Peter being married in this.
Nah, he's not gonna do that.
Well, they can't do that. It's not like Straczynski has the ability to publish these books on his own. Like, they have to go.
No, but I'm just saying Elseworlds, he just slips it by the editor. Doesn't tell them. Because remember, editors don't really do much at Marvel.
Perhaps. But anyways, so I guess I'll just go first here. I really enjoyed this. I mean, I liked this whole, like I said, this felt very Spielbergian, kind of Indiana Jones villainish.
Comedy.
I liked how the guide just seemed kind of like, good guy, kind of like questioning his motives, but turns out he was really the one kind of in charge the whole time. That was a nice end around. Very, very sinister here. Like, I like villains being villains. So that was a lot of fun. The art style isn't like my favorite, but at the same time, I feel like it works well for the book.
I feel like it works better in the flashbacks than it does in the current day.
Yeah,
I don't know. That might just be me, but I mean, I didn't hate it. It's not terrible. It's not like Riley Rossmo or anything.
That's like your guys' go-to when you ever want to complain about art.
I know. I kind of hate that. It's like I need to find a different bad artist to hate on.
Wait, who? Riley Rossmo?
Yeah, I need to find somebody besides Riley Rossmo.
You could say Justin Greenwood. That's Ash's go-to.
No
Greenwood's
way.
hard. I actually don't mind. I actually don't mind Justin Greenwood that much.
The thing is that Rai Raspa is the most famous for being bad. There's a lot of indie ones I don't know their names. I would say everyone, if you're not Steve Epting, it's like or Dan Mora, you're subpar.
Well,
You
that's
didn't.
that's
Are you
actually kind of one
pay
thing I'm
illegal him?
noticing. That's one thing I'm noticing about this book is
The Gil
while
Cage
the
shot.
art is very different, there is a similar quality to what Steve Epting did for Captain America that
Yeah.
this guy's doing.
Yeah.
That I think I appreciate.
This seems like who is the artist on Brubaker with Brubaker?
Steve Epting.
Because
That
yeah,
was Steve Epting.
okay, yeah, because it does kind of give off that with the coloring and everything. It kind of gives off that early 2000s Captain America run.
And that more realistic kind of portrayal of people versus the comic booky drawing.
I love I love the building, the gate, the service elevator. We have
Yeah.
there's some buildings here in Milwaukee that are like that, so have those things.
Yeah,
So that's kind of
very
cool,
New
too.
Yorkish. Yep.
Yep. But I mean, I love the fact that it's just Steve wearing a regular. It's what Steve would wear: blue jeans and a t-shirt.
Yep.
You know, that's his character. He is very old fashioned like that. But like I said, and that's something that we won't see a lot of these days either. Is a kid, 14 years old, going around, basically doesn't want any handouts and decided to make his own living by doing odd jobs like that.
Yep.
And that's
I did like that. Yeah.
and there was there child laws in the 40s, 30s.
I don't
Oh,
feel
weren't
like
they?
Not
Is
if
he
there were
14?
not nearly as strict as today.
No,
yeah,
because he's
not
14
nearly.
years old. He's doing the coal. You know, he's got the coal bag there. All the jobs are available. I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, as far as everything else, I love like as far as they threw in the song he was humming. I bet you that really is actually a real song.
Probably
I mean,
is, yeah.
and that's the thing about Straczynski. I do love that he puts in the time for the research for some of this stuff. A lot of people would not even bring up the fact there was Nazis in America back then today.
I am
No.
really hoping that he tells this faithfully and this doesn't go south and all like links into like modern politics and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
we'll see, but it took me by surprise because like this is something that's almost never discussed is that a lot of Americans supported the Nazis back in the 30s. Like they were looked at. Look, it was very much like Ukraine is today. They were kind of like, like, oh, we got to help them, like, and of course, Ukraine's Nazis. I mean, Ukraine is Nazis. They literally, they bear the Nazi swastika.
They gave a standing ovation to a Nazi a few days ago. Did you see in the news? There was like this guy used to work with the SS, and he's like in his 90s, and I think it was in Canada. But Zelensky was there, and they ended up giving this guy, this 90-year-old Nazi veteran, a standing ovation for serving in the war.
And George Soros. I mean, the Democrats take ungodly amounts of money from George Soros, and the dude is a literal Nazi, like from Germany, Nazi. So it's one of those things that's like in the open, but people don't see. And Rhaegar in the chat does the nice one there, the Disney tie-in Star Wars. Yep, it's true, all of it. Nice one. I've really enjoyed this book. Not my favorite Captain America story of all time. I think Sentinel of Liberty, the original one by Fabian Nicieza back in the 90s, is probably still my favorite with Kevin Maguire art.
I was gonna say the Brubaker is forever like
Brubaker is solid.
The top tier Captain America story.
It's very solid. I think Captain America Sentinel of Liberty, it was the epitome. It's kind of like it was like Captain America's year one. And Brubaker's amazing too. You can't go wrong. But this was really fun. Like I have no complaints. If I were not anti-Marvel as a company, I would be waving this around. This has a ton of potential. I really enjoyed reading it. I really enjoyed discussing it just now with you guys. What are your thoughts?
Well, you bring up Spielberg for this part right here, and it's really goes back to Indiana Jones was it number 1 with Alfred Molina?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm expecting this guy to come in like and just like leave him to die, But I love the clever plot though. That it was like, this guy is asking questions and all stuff. It's like we don't really know how this guy knows where it is, and he's purposely antagonizing the guy. And I'm thinking like, so I wasn't expecting the demon stuff, that they'd be possessed. This guy's already possessed. So I kind of like that, the surprise, because he asked him like he's like he kept prepping him. He's like, probably it's like, is this sure what you want? And it says like, well, what do you think? He thinks you're the one in control here.
Right.
And then of course the bad guy gets what's coming. And then because that panel down there, I read it as Breen. Every time I read that. Like,
oh my goodness.
Exactly, I know. And I love it. I love the demonic creature. It looks like some of the 90s, like kind of like you know those watch the Mighty Ducks cartoon? I'm probably the only one here. That was like the dragon guy. That was the bad guy in it. He looked kind of like that, but not like a Ghostbusters thing too. It's not over the top like scary, but still enough. It's like, man, if this happened to you, you'd be afraid.
Oh, if this happened to you, you'd be terrified. This is the only reason it's not scary is because we're looking at a hand-drawn comic book page.
Yeah,
and so we have enough
version.
We have enough detachment from it. But if you were this guy and you saw this in real life happening, you would be pissing and crapping yourself.
For those who watch Supernatural, when the demons would come in, they come in like a black smoke or a red smoke, depending on the level or their whatever. Anyway, and you see how people get possessed and stuff. It was like disgusting. This is like a cartoon version of that.
I don't know. This is pretty disgusting, man. Look at the guys like being impaled, and then like got the tentacles going down his throat. Like, this is pretty disgusting.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess when he discards the other body, they didn't show what happened to the other body. It would have been great. Like they showed like the demon, like basically like the body like decomposing or gone. It turns to dust because the only keeping alive was the demon.
Yeah, maybe.
But they
we don't know what happened to this guy, Miguel or whatever his name was. I presume he's just left there dead. But
yeah, probably
because he leaves that body and then he also needs another body. But like I said, overall, it's just really cool. It is very tropey because like when the rich he's like, I don't care, I want immortality, I'll do what I need to do. I have to kill someone, He's like, okay, senor. And so he's like, and I love he's like, we're already here. Like yeah, ours goes and like it's like the demon just condescending saying like you're a dumbass. Thank you for the body.
Yep.
Basically don't. It's was I say. Don't always wish for things because you may not like what you get.
Right.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, that's it.
I had a lot of fun. Now Zach made some points about like there's not a lot of action. There's a few little pieces of action. Like I said, I really enjoyed this scene here. But overall, Zach's right. There's not a major thing, but I guess maybe I'm just older now, where oftentimes appreciate good drama over big action.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And then also, RDV was starting to say it's like I feel like it's a good setup issue. Like you've got to get all your pieces, all the chess pieces on the board. I understand that.
Straczynski's a TV show creator. He created Babylon 5, so he's gonna take his time. I thought this was a great opening scene right here.
Yeah, it was a great opening scene. As I'm going back,
the opening scene. Yeah, the opening scene's pretty great.
As I'm going back and kind of talking about it with you guys, I'm appreciating it even more than my first read. I'm able to see take a step back, take a wider view of it, and see just how this story was structured. I really think this is a really good book. If the whole series stays this way, I think you're gonna have a winner on your hands. I think this could possibly be on
Yep.
the same level as we used to consider Daredevil when Chip Zdarsky was hitting home runs with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see this as a TV series and hearing the music playing in the background. You know, the old 40s music.
Oh, can you
Kinda like
imagine
seeing-
if Disney Plus did a Cap series like this quality?
Yep.
Like,
And then
because look, it wouldn't even take the way this is structured. There's not a lot of like big budget stuff you need. It's just really strong character moments. You only need a couple of like money shots, like here with the car chase and he knocks out the
Yeah.
villain, or the beginning where you got the giant robot. Like, but you, man,
let Straczynski write the script and then stick to
yeah,
the script.
yeah, seriously, man, I would
There's
just
a
be.
reason why those shows Babylon 5 was popular, because it was his script and he took it and he did his own thing. You know,
He was the
left Real
showrunner.
Ghostbusters. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he was.
left Real Ghostbusters because they decided, well, we don't like your scripts anymore. We want to tone it down. It's too violent. So he said, you know what, screw you. And he left that. And as soon as Straczynski stopped writing the episodes for that show, the show bombed. It was canceled shortly later.
Yeah, this is what Disney needs to do. Disney needs to put their trust in someone like Straczynski too, because I understand, like, you don't just want to get a comic book writer, right? Most comic book writers wouldn't be up for the job, but Straczynski is a proven commodity.
Yeah.
The dude has been a TV showrunner more than once, and he did, like, to this day, Babylon 5, even though it's pretty dated, it still stands the test of time. Like, people consider it a classic show. It was well done. The guy knows how to architect a show, run it, come up with a plan, and execute it. And I would love if Disney were to be like, hey, Straczynski, we like what you're doing here. How would you like to helm a series? Like, you hire your own writer's room, you run it, you know, boom, boom, boom. Yes. This is, yeah, I can't imagine a TV series being better than this. So if you could do it to this level, it'd be fantastic.
Quit spending your money on Star Wars that nobody watches. Put it on something that actually people will watch, and bring back Chris Evans.
No, don't bring back Chris Evans. No.
Chris Evans are right as long as he has no control.
Dude, have you seen Chris Evans lately? Dude's getting old. And he's scrawny. He's not really fit for the part anymore. He barely was back when the first Captain America came out.
Who would you get to replace Chris Evans? Because the problem was that Chris Evans is so popular as Captain America, it's kind of hard to see anybody else.
It's true. That's always a difficult thing when you're going to cast, and that's the thing that the MCU kind of faced from the beginning, is eventually actors are going to age out of roles. I don't have someone on the top of my head.
I do.
Once upon a time, I mean, the guy's too old now, but what's his name that plays Peacemaker?
John Cena?
John Cena.
John Cena, like 15 years ago, I could have said it. Oh, another guy? Reacher. That's where I'd cast. Guy who plays Reacher.
That's not a bad choice.
Or there's an unknown somewhere that could fit that I don't know about. But of the people I know, the actor that plays Reacher, 100% Captain America.
He's actually 2 years younger than Chris Evans.
Like, I'm just saying, Chris Evans just looks old. Like, he's not aging well.
Yeah.
And a lot of it too, I don't get political, but a lot of this is like the lefty weirdos, like they get on these like weird vegan diets and they do all this like weird, and they just, did you see what happened to Robert Downey Jr.?
Dude, that guy looks unhealthy.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like, I think I saw a picture where it looks like he was starting to look like his normal self, but man, a lot of stuff I've seen with him recently. I don't know, like, if he had to like make himself look healthier for Oppenheimer or anything, but yeah, he just got.
Well, he plays an older guy in Oppenheimer, so it kind of works okay.
It kind of works there, but yeah, it's like the clothes that he's wearing look like really baggy on him, and like he's balding.
He just looks like an old guy now. Like he looks like he just aged.
I mean, And he is an older guy. I get it. You know, you can't look, like you're back in 2008 forever. But
Henry Cavill with blonde hair. Let's go. Screw you, DC.
Marania says Scott Eastwood would be a good substitute. Scott Eastwood has, for my taste, he's got too distinctive of a look that is not always a bad thing, but if you're playing a like notable character, sometimes it can clash.
mhm.
And Scott Eastwood like has that for me. I'm just like, yeah, like you're too Scott Eastwood. Like every time I see you, all I can see is Scott Eastwood. Tom Cruise often has this problem as well, where I'm just like, I can't see you as anyone but Tom Cruise. So if you're playing a character that I've never heard of before, it's fine. But like, for example, like there was the
Alright.
rumors of him playing Tony Stark one time. I'd be like, you being Tony Stark, you'd just be Tom Cruise. You'd be too Tom Cruise and not enough Tony.
Jensen Ackles.
Eh.
Scott
Someone
Eastwood is a
actually
dead
said
ringer for Evans. I don't think Scott Eastwood is a dead ringer. Do you guys think Scott Eastwood look like Chris Evans?
he
I've
does.
only seen him in one movie, and that was Fast and Furious 8, maybe.
He does.
I haven't seen him in anything else.
No, he was in Pacific Rim.
Oh, he was in Pacific Rim too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I've never seen Pacific Rim 2.
And you look at
don't.
So we've already seen Chris, or not Chris, not Evans, but we've seen Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy.
Eh.
No, it'd be kind of funny to see him as Captain America. But somebody said John Krasinski.
He was supposed to be Captain America. He auditioned for the role, and I
Okay.
think he got pretty far along in the process, but then he
Okay.
opted out.
I need to retract a little bit. I'm looking up Scott Eastwood right now, and I think I'm confusing Scott Eastwood for someone else because when I was envisioning it, I was not picturing this. So Marania, I've changed my opinion. I think I now more agree with Marania based on these
Okay.
photos. Not a bad choice. I still would pick the guy that plays Reacher because that dude just has a build. When you look at Steve Rogers and the jeans and the t-shirt, and he's just a big dude.
Yeah.
That guy just fits it. But this guy's every bit I could. I mean, if Chris Evans can pull it off, this guy can pull it off.
I'm looking at Jonathan Groff. The dude's like 38, 5'11". He could be a slightly younger Captain America.
I don't know who that is. I'm trying to think. Who is the guy that I'm thinking? Is there another Eastwood?
Clint Eastwood
No, not obviously Clint. I mean, is there another younger
version of Eastwood?
No, like
He had
like
two
another.
sons. Yeah.
What's the other son?
Let me look it up. I don't think he's an actor though.
There's another guy that I'm thinking of, and I can picture him.
Kyle Eastwood is his brother.
And he's got this weird look to him that I thought it was Eastwood.
There's Stifler. Sean Scott Williams.
No, not Sean Scott. Just, can you imagine him as Captain America? Yeah. All right. So yep. So I'm wrong. Rania has corrected me. It's important to be able to keep your mind open and have it subject to change. See. That's it. I think we're done with Captain America. I would give this 4 stars. High recommend. If you are a Captain America fan and you've been starving for good Captain America books, here you go. I don't know what Black Pills have been saying about it. I usually don't follow anything that they say because they're usually extremely biased and looking for things to hate.
Well,
and you guys know me. I am hypercritical. I can nitpick books. We've gotten in some pretty good argument. I did not really find anything. I was struggling to find the worst. I had fun with this book. What about you?
I enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd give it 4 out of 5. I might give it like a 3, maybe 3.5.
Oh my goodness.
Just because it wasn't. Well, I don't know. Something, just I like more action in my comics. I like more of that comic book storytelling. I get that he's a TV writer. I get that he's trying to, establish some stuff. But I did like it though. Like I said, I'm gonna pick up number 2.
Were you
Um,
So I gotta ask, were you thinking about Ryan Phillippe?
No,
Okay, that's the other guy, the action star blonde that was going around. Wow,
he's not a big
shooter.
star. He's usually plays like little bit roles. Um,
Ryan Gosling.
usually he's in ensemble casts and he plays like a side character. I'm trying to think even of a movie that he's in that I could look up and I could find out who he is. He
Let's
usually
just get Army Hammer back.
he usually has like lamb chops, like he's or um like the way he like shaves. I'm trying to think. I thought it was Scott Eastwood was his name, but obviously it's a different person. Um, he's just got a weird look to me when I see him. He's got like a long torso and stuff, and I don't know. I wish I knew something that I could look it up to show you. I can't think of any of the movies. He might have been in one of the Ocean's movies. I think he
Brad
might have been.
Pitt.
is it that guy from the Hawaii 5-0 remake?
I don't know. I haven't seen that.
Hold on. I'm gonna...
It's Alan Tudyk he wants.
Scott Caan?
Oh, it might be Scott Conn.
Scott Caan, yeah.
So
he is in the Ocean's movies. He's got like a brother, and they're always fighting in the Ocean movies. He's the son. Oh, this makes sense. He's the son of James Caan.
yes, so that's where okay. So this is the guy that I was
this
picturing.
guy.
Yeah.
This is the guy
Okay,
that I was
it's-
picturing, and he is. What's similar? His name's Scott. He's also the son of an aging movie star, James Caan. So,
Well, not aging. His dad's dead.
Oh my gosh, is he really?
oh, I didn't
James
know
Caan
James
died a
Caan.
while back.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That
Here you go. That. He's just like I said. He's just got like a unique look that when I see him every time, all I can see is him. Like I can't.
Right.
He doesn't disappear into a role. And if this guy was Captain America, I'd be like, no, you're not.
Yeah, he's the bad guy in Gone in 60 Seconds.
He looks like no, he's not. The bad guy in Gone in 60 Seconds is Christopher Eccleston.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He's Scottish. He's not a Scot. He's Scottish.
Is this the guy? He looks like one of the guy from the Jesse James movie they did with American. I forget what it's called, but it was like but Jesse James, and then it had Colin Farrell in it. American Outlaws. That's where I know him from. He's Cole Younger in that.
Yeah, he plays in a lot of those ensemble movies.
Yeah.
So,
I never
anyways,
watch those movies at all.
That's why I wasn't on board with Marania, because I was picturing the wrong person, and Marania was right. So there you go. Credit.
Yeah, looking at this guy now, he kind of looks like the guy should be in every single like GTA movie. he looks like the guy who's out there boosting cars.
All right. So Zach is not super impressed. He thought it was mid, 3 stars. What about you, Makeman?
I give this 4 stars.
Nice.
Because I can't give it 5 stars because well, it's out by the next issue. That's why I rate comics by 2 issues, and then I decide if I like it or not.
Yeah.
So
The only
right
reason
now, 4 is good for me though, because usually
Yeah.
3 is very mid. Like,
4 is good for me too. That's a high recommend. I have to save my 5s for things that are like truly exceptional.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
and as
Yeah.
good as this isn't gonna blow you away. You're not like reading
Like,
Batman Year One or something, like
when Batman Year One is a 5. Sarah is a 5 for me.
yeah. And this could
You know,
easily transition. Like not enough really happens in this yet.
Right.
It's a really good start. Like it's a high 4. It's not for me. Like I'm very satisfied.
Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of very satisfied, we need to go into our next.
I was not very satisfied. I don't know about satisfied if that's the adjective to use.
Breen and I had the same opinion. this actually broke the mold of basically just endless killing. I loved it.
I was distraught.
I can see
Well,
Zach being distraught in this book.
Considering that
I'm just like reading it with one. I'm holding the book in one hand. I'm like pulling my hair out with my other hand. Like what?
Well,
I tweeted at him. I was like, Mark Millar, why?
well, considering that we know that they're bringing some of these characters back because there's a volume 2. No, there is there's a volume 2 of Nightclub.
Nightclub, but okay, that's like that's a fraction of
these two characters are coming back.
Well, there's a volume 2 of Nightclub doesn't mean that the characters. That's true. It could be a Nightclub Next Generation, for all we know.
And also with
same with ambassadors, it could be completely different ambassadors.
And also what you hear about what the Magic Order said in this book.
Yep, I do. We'll get to this, but I do like that the Magic Order was finally addressed because that's kind of been the elephant in the room. Where we're like, wait a second, what's going on? And it's like Mark's like, don't worry, I know, and he answers why they haven't taken any action. Or what's So this is big game number 3. If you guys like comic books and you're not getting this,
you don't like comic
books. I question your love of comics. No, I mean you might like.
If you love The Boys, you like this too.
No.
Someone instantly killing all your favorite people.
If you like Cape comics, I do. This is just really. It's just a really fun. This is an exciting book. It's not going to necessarily be your favorite book, but this brings back the excitement I used to have as a kid, where I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like I'd read a book and just be like, "What?" and just be blown away. To this day, I think the biggest thing that ever was like that was Infinity Gauntlet. I can remember reading that each month for 6 months as those comics were coming out and just being like, what? And having to wait another month for the next book and that set the bar for me. And this comic is almost to that level. And I think the only reason it's not to that level is because it doesn't have the benefit of being the Marvel Universe. But the quality of the story and the spectacle of the events and just the thing that Mark's doing, it's just exciting. This is exciting popcorn, blockbuster movie equivalent of comic books. This is kind of what I as a kid loved about comic books, just like the big massive event, things happening, just I gotta wait till next month. How is this gonna resolve? This is crazy. I can't believe how they so many comics by today's standards are just so dull and just people sitting around talking about their feelings and Mark Millar gets it. Like this is a genre of world-shattering events, characters that are just not your normal everyday Joe doing extraordinary things. Anyways, this is big game, and this is where Mark Millar is crossing over his comic book characters, which previously were never thought of to be in their own universe. And it feels like a little bit of what do you call it? What do you call it when you redo something? A
retcon?
Retcon, thank you. It feels a little bit like a retcon, like where Mark Millar's like, oh yeah, by the way, I didn't tell you, these characters are all in the same world. But it's a very creative one. And I like it. I was a little bit trepidatious at first, being like, how are you going to work this all together, Mark? That's weird. But I feel like he's really thought this through and made it fit reasonably well. And it's made it more exciting to me because one of the things I've always loved about comic books, like mainstream comic books, is the shared universe. The fact that Spider-Man could cross paths with the X-Men one day. Didn't happen all the time. And it didn't need to happen all the time, but you as a reader knew that it could, right? That they lived in the same world. And to me, when Mark Millar does this and it's like, wait a second, Kick-Ass is in the same world as Prodigy, is in the same world as Magic. Like these guys are all like, wait, what? Wait, oh, that's interesting. Like it just ups the ante, if you will. So this is a book that I haven't read. the character, I should say, Huck. It's on my to list. I've never gotten around to it yet.
I really want to read Huck after this first couple of pages.
Yes, me too. Huck, I want to read all of Mark Miller's stuff, but we
Yeah.
see this jet flying over, looks like the North Pole, and he's talking to whatever headquarters, and they're just talking about how this guy's he's like, you're never gonna believe this, but he was at the local zoo and saw a polar bear cub who had been separated from his family, and he felt the bear look sad and he wanted to track them down. He can do that? Apparently, he can track down anything. The bear's in a little backpack down there, and he's running for 3 days. He only takes time to the only time he stops is to down a can of Dr. Pepper. And you're just like, immediately I've got this vision that Huck is like the most wholesome of wholesome characters. Like
Yeah.
I'm imagining
Shazam.
this
Guy is gonna put Steve Rogers to shame.
I'm imagining this character as kind of like a simple-minded, like good-hearted, just helps. Oh, I'm gonna help the animals. Like he's running for 3 days. Can help
with superpowers.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, okay, this is great. That's the maddest fucking thing I've ever heard of in my life. Drop the nuke. And we see like Huck turns around and looks. You see the little polar bear. Oh, look at him. He's so cute. He's looking back, and he's nuked.
The polar bear just kills it for me.
At the bottom it says, just say drink Pepsi.
I just wanna weep after watching that with the polar bear. I was like, oh my gosh, really, Mark? Really?
This is just something that you don't get to see in comic. Marvel or DC do not have a fraction of the balls of Mark Miller to write any sort of storyline like this.
We're gonna kill a wholesome character and the baby animal he's trying to rescue in the first 2 pages.
This would make great product placement for Pepsi. Like he's got like the Coca-Cola. He only stops for like a can of Coca-Cola, drains it down. And you get the polar bear, and it's just like at the bottom it says, "Yeah, I like Pepsi. Drop the nuke."
I don't know if that's the kind of actual product placement you want to do.
Mountain Dew explosion, yes. Taste the dew.
I just love the way this is set up, though. It immediately, you don't even have to know anything about Huck. Just the way that he writes about how this guy's like running for 3 days to help the little bear. You're immediately like, oh, like this guy's like super nice, and he's dead. Like it's just the setup. Like Mark Miller, like he just knows how to do that and push your buttons. So I understand a little bit where you're coming from, Zach, where you're talking about pulling your hair out.
It doesn't. It's like, you know that scene in Revenge of the Sith where George Lucas is just showing all the Jedi getting gunned down, like one after the other. That's what Mark Millar's been doing for the last 2 issues.
Yes.
He's just like, and here's this one, and here's this one, and they're all dead.
Except Anakin, have you come to play with us? God.
Unlike, however, Revenge of the Sith, Mark Miller actually makes you care about it.
I cared. Okay,
I didn't. I was just.
I cared.
I was just watching Jedi get slaughtered. They didn't mean anything to me.
I cared about the Jedi.
But here we cut over to another character that I haven't read, Superior, which, based on what you read in these panels here, Superior seems a little bit like his version of Shazam. We have this kid who's disabled. He's got this wheelchair, and basically was given a deal with the devil to get superpowers. It says, I was 12 years old and in a wheelchair, and a demon told me he'd make me a superhero in return for my immortal soul. And they're like, oh, as in the biblical definition of a soul, your spiritual essence being bartered for perfect health? That's right. I tricked him and got my soul back, but I had to give up my superpowers in order to make it happen. So you can't turn into a superhero again. You don't have special powers anymore? No, ma'am. So they're like they step aside. So what do you think, Jackie? He can't hurt us. He's just in a fucking wheelchair. Yeah, but why take the risk? You know what they're saying? Good point. And they just obliterate him. Apparently he's got some sort of powers. And then just the cold-heartedness here. And I think that's what Miller's doing here, setting up these villains are really vile people. And then we cut over to Philadelphia in the Marania's neck of the woods, and we see the nightclub. And they're doing their thing, running around. It's in continuity with the series, so there's only 2 of them instead of 3. And the little tropey thing here, it's like, I got your message. Wait, what message? I didn't send you a message. You sent me a message. Well, I didn't send you a message. What? Oh, no, it's the bad guy sent you a message. To which one of them apparently has got some sort of power. It can change the consistency of like he's kind of like Molecule Man, actually, in a way.
Weather wizard and all that stuff too.
Yeah, it changes the roof into liquid, and then he's like, what the hell? Now they're trapped underwater, and they're like, oh, we inherited the positions of from our parents, blah blah blah. And there's the monologue, and he's like, in the meantime, what can we do to kill 2 vampires, Mr. Khatri? Turn the pool into holy water? No, please don't. Too late. I'm not sure how you turn something into holy water. That's a little something I would question Mark Millar. I don't know if holy water is exactly a molecular consistency, but nonetheless, for the sake of the comic book narrative, they kill him. Then we come over to Dave Lazowski. Mark, I believe this was Mark Millar's first superhero character, most famously known as Kick-Ass. Great little panel here. I love the setup. I love him with the, with seeing the clothes on the ground. It's a really good visual cue to remind you of who this guy is, because he's now 31 years old. He's not 15 like he was in the comic book. And he's talking about his life and how he's had to give up being a superhero and blah, 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 and how he should have just waited a couple years and he stuck it out and is going through regrets and blah, blah. And the president has now sent out this emergency broadcast that hit such a nerve when he asked anyone who had ever been a superhero to step up. I haven't worn this costume in over 10 years, but if this is really as bad as they say, Joe Biden needs all the help he can get. Now, this is the one qualm I did have about the book, is they use the name Joe Biden.
I think the story.
It dates the story, but I also think it puts the story like in our world. Just make up a fictional president name. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Let your world have its own thing, and that way the president. Or just say the president.
Just say the president.
Yeah, whatever. But as soon as you say Biden, Trump, or back in the day, Obama was a bit like Obama was like, whatever president it is, it inevitably makes the reader see it through a political lens that they have. They may like that president, they may hate that president, and that's going to color their view. And I don't think it's necessary. I don't think our real world politics needs to be in there, but that is what it is. Aside from that, the book doesn't actually go political. It was just that I just saw Joe Biden and I was immediately like, oh, but then moving on. That was it.
Well, the funny part is that Joe Biden needs all the help he get.
Right. It also was kind of actually worked out kind of interesting because where the story is about to go. So we get to see him in his costume, and this is kind of nostalgic. I became kind of a Mark Millar fan through Kick-Ass. I wasn't around reading. I wasn't reading Marvel comics at the time when he made a name for himself. I wasn't even reading Kick-Ass when he made a name for himself. I read Kick-Ass when I saw the movie and was like, "Oh, what's this movie?" And this movie is really cool. Who is this Mark Millar? Like, so this to me is kind of my starting point. So I go, oh, it's kind of cool to go back here and just be like, yeah, I'm rooting for Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass is the kind of guy that you just want to root for him, because while he's not a loser, he's a guy that just wants to do good, but he doesn't really have what it takes, but he tries really hard. And I don't know, there's something just lovable about that. He's living with his girlfriend. I think I'm kind of glad that he didn't ultimately have like a relationship with Hit Girl. Like, I kind of imagine that's where it would always go when they got older. But I think that would actually be kind of weird in hindsight. So this is better. I don't know who this girl is. And he's basically explaining, he's like, look, man, the president's calling, needs all the people. And she's crying. And he's like, I got to do this. He's like, Look at Batman, for Pete's sake. He didn't have powers and da da da. And so she's finally like, okay, just be careful. And of course, this is Mark Miller pulling your strings because you've seen he is not afraid to kill your favorite characters. So
Is this the girl from the second movie they dated?
I don't know. It's hard. I don't know
Or
because they don't look the same, but that could not be anything. I doubt it, but who knows? Um, he's like, I really need this. Oh, just promise me you'll be careful. And Mark, like I said, Mark is set up that no one is safe in these books, which is actually a really powerful maneuver here. For as much as Zach is voiced like how terrible it is to watch these happen, it is, but at the same time, what it allows is for these books to have a real threat level. You know what I'm saying? When I read like a Marvel comic, I'm not worried Spider-Man's gonna die. Even if they make a giant announcement like, this summer we're killing Spider-Man. Read the death of Spider-Man. I'm like, okay, and how long is it going to be till he's back? Like, death doesn't mean anything in comics anymore. First of all, because it rarely happens. We just know the characters are going to be okay. And then second of all, when they do it, it's not actually real anyway. So, but here I actually feel these characters are mortal. Like any of these guys could go. I'm rooting for Dave. Like
I'm getting
I'm
more with towards the end of this book. They feel like that's not going to be the case.
I want Dave to be the hero of the story. You know what I'm saying? Because it's where it all began was in him, and he's kind of this loser character and achieve something when all these other characters couldn't. But we'll see where it goes. So he leaves and he's like, okay, cool, I'm going. And we see some villains looking down. Oh, these poor fuckers, they're all going to get murdered, and there's nothing we can do. And it's not actually villains. We find out this is the Secret Order. And they talk about, that's exactly right, Cordelia. There's nothing we can do. The Magic Order only exists to stop supernatural threats. If we get involved in earthly matters, the problem comes back 10 times bigger. So apparently there's some seemingly like magical law or something that binds them from getting involved. And if they try to get involved, it's kind of just futile because it just will actually make things worse.
And are these are that now we've seen time travel in their book in the first volume. Are these from the present or are they from the future watching the press?
I don't know. I'm assuming they're just from the present. This is the current Magic Order.
Yeah.
Remember, it's run by Cordelia now. So they're basically stating we got to stand by and watch, just like we did back when Wesley's dad did this back in the 80s. And so it's a good answer to the elephant in the room of why is the Magic Order not involved? Like, because realistically, when you read the Magic Order, you're like, all this is easily stopped. They could just they could fix this no problem. And Mark Miller in one panel answers it all. And you're like, oh, okay.
I kept wondering why aren't the black guys going after the black or going after the the Magic Order?
Well, they would die. I mean, the Magic Order is just you read that comic and you're like, these guys are just uber powerful.
Yeah, but we saw Nemesis have 95 different powers all at once.
Yeah, but the Magic Order.
I mean, it's like magic trumps almost all other superpowers 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And the odds are, and I would bet you, I don't think this is in the book, but I would bet you that like Wesley and like the villains, like they know the Magic Order could stop them, but they also know the Magic Order won't. Maybe he knows the Magic Order won't do anything because they can't meddle in like mortal affairs.
They may not even know about the Magic Order.
Maybe they might not, or maybe they do, and they're just like, well, as long as we don't mess with the supernatural, they'll leave.
Well, think about this. I mean, part of their order thing is to keep magic from entering into the real world, like to keep the world kind of like ignorant of magic. And since they don't get involved in like mundane affairs, then it stands to reason. Unlike the superheroes, right? They get involved. Like, oh, there's a major villain, we go stop them. Like, there's direct involvement, and therefore the villains know about them. But if the Magic Order is always staying behind the scenes, there's no reason why anyone should know about them. That's not part of that world. So it is possible. I'm not saying that that's the way that it is. it could
Yeah.
be that they do know and they just go, okay, they're not going to get involved and they ignore them, or that they just don't know, period, because the magic order doesn't get involved.
Right.
But
It could be
anyways,
one of both. Yeah.
but Mark Millar at least took the time to answer the reader and say, okay, this is an obvious question that the
Yeah.
narrative is begging. Let's at least address that, and they do. So we go back to the headquarters of the fraternity. It looks like they've turned I don't know if they've turned the facility of the time travel thing into their headquarters, or if they're just taking the stuff back to their headquarters. I couldn't really tell. But we see Hit Girl with Eggsy, and they're kind of infiltrating this building, and the bad guys. And this was a little weird to me. The Eggsy tripped an alarm. I thought he would be a little bit more skilled than to do that, but he trips an alarm. It alerts the bad guys, and we get action scenes. And Hit Girl and Eggsy get to do some ass kicking, but we see here in the dialogue, fuck, where are all these reinforcements coming from? There must be hundreds. It doesn't matter. I've got an idea. Help me get to Dr. Riley somewhere safe. This could be our ticket out of there. So they had mentioned that there was a little line here of dialogue where they mentioned that Dr. Riley's suit still has a little energy left, which seems to
Yep,
be like an
right on.
important clue.
Time
So
travel.
so she's like, help me get the doctor to somewhere safe. So he's giving her cover fire. She's pulling the body out. And then Eggsy bites the dust. And you're just like, geez, Mark, what the
Humpty
heck?
Dumpty fell out, and Eggsy got his eggs blown out.
Oh my goodness. And she's like, you piece
Yeah.
of shit. So Hit Girl's, shooting back or whatever, and she's hiding away in a corner. She's got the body. And then we
Or it's
see
the Fox.
Fox comes
and
in
Wesley.
to Wesley. It's like, Wesley, we've got a security breach. I heard the alarms, just checking the cameras. Is that Hit Girl? I can't believe our luck. She was the only one I was worried about finding, and only one I was worried about finding, and now she just walks into the lion's den. Come on, let's go. And so this is interesting because I have Hit Girl's awesome and she's badass, but now not only is her life on the line, because just like all these characters are, but now Wesley is personally getting involved, and with Fox. So you're just like, oh crap, this is like the main event. And just Miller just knows how to set the stakes. He knows how to like build up to things. This is just like going to watch a title fight. Or if you're a wrestling fan and you watch like WrestleMania, like each fight gets bigger and bigger till you get to the main event. And that's what it feels like the structure here is like, oh, it's Hit Girl finally. Oh, she's gonna Wesley's gonna and just like, and you see the scene, the superhero leap. What do they call it? The superhero landing, although it's a
Yes.
villain. It's just so classic. I love tropey stuff when it's done cool. And it's like, I always wondered, how do we do against this bitch? Again, leading you into their heads a little bit. Like, they actually worried a little bit about her. Like,
It's just like Vandal Savage going up against like Robin. It's like, really,
yeah.
the Batman's
And,
dead. What are you gonna do?
look at her like in the corner. Look at all these guys just shoot at her. And he's like, hold your fire. Mindy McReady, this is Wesley Gibson, leader of the fraternity. I'm standing here with my associate, the Fox, and we want you to appreciate that there's no way out of this. Oh no, she says. My father was the greatest assassin who ever lived, and I inherited all his talents. I've also been augmented with superhuman senses, so let's try to be sensible here. You put up a good fight, better than all the others, but I always hit my targets in the end. And so if you know anything about Wanted, Wesley, if you've seen the movie, he can curve bullets, was kind of silly, but he essentially can. He can basically hit his targets. And he's got her in his sights. And it's like, how the hell do you work this thing? And she's like fiddling with the time thing. She doesn't know. Is it really just typing the date and go? She's just like panic. And it's just like, Wesley tells his men, stand back, please. And apparently he's got a gun that fires like small like nuclear warhead or something. Boom! Yeah, you're just like, oh my, that's overkill. And then turn the page. Where is she? Did you atomize him, sir? Check the security footage frame by frame. I want to know exactly what happened. Then you cut to the next frame. 65 million years ago. Oh my god, it actually worked. But where the hell have I ended up? Rawr, raptor. And
Dinosaur!
just
all that's missing is Nazis, and Zach be like, "This is the best book ever."
seriously, like, yeah. But I saw this page. I'm like, it's Zach's page. But I just love like, where have I ended up? And you just turn the page, and it's like the most crazy like raptor pose, like just raptor. Like this is a memeable page. But and that's it. Like just bravo, Mark. This is not the best comic I've ever read, but it is a ton of fun. Like it is the kind you just pull up a slice of pizza or popcorn or whatever and just toss it back and just smiling the whole way. Go ahead.
One of this is a red herring, and then she just dies in the next issue.
Oh my goodness, don't say this. It just like chomps her head off like Jurassic Park style. Oh, that'd be terrible.
She's gonna be saved by a T-Rex.
No. Oh, that would be funny. That would be way Jurassic Park style.
Jurassic Park.
No.
So I had a feeling this was going to go into with Hit Girl doing time travel stuff, because especially with the Magic Order kind of sitting back, it's like, okay, they can't get involved, okay, and this broke the mold. Up at this point, it was just kind of the same. People die, people die, people die. Nemesis wasn't even in this book, unless he was a pilot, and that'd be really weird because he is not wearing his costume.
No, I don't think
right there, because the guy says "sir" and dress him. The guys ask questions.
I think this is just a henchman pilots.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, like I said, this actually had a little bit of hope at the end. It's the middle. It's the middle of the story because there's two more issues.
2 more issues only. I feel like this comic needs to be like 12 issues.
The next one too. We need to wait a month for the next issue too.
What do you say, Ash? I can hear you.
Oh, I was saying I feel like this comic needs to be 12 issues. I feel like there's just so much happening. I don't want it to wrap up in 2 issues. Like I want there to be a big...
I don't want it to be a Disney show.
Yeah.
Where it's decompressed. The little they killed Shazam and then they killed like 1 million. That's what it looks like from the Huck reminds you of 1 million from My Hero Academia. The way he's drawn.
Who looks like it?
The very beginning, the Huck in the very beginning.
Huck,
like 1 million.
Huck. Oh, yes. Okay, he does.
He's drawn. It's like
he does look like 1 million. Yep.
I mean, overkill for the freaking bomb, though.
Well, apparently, I believe I haven't read it, but I believe Huck is superpowered, like Superman type. Maybe not quite Superman, but he does. So they probably needed to make sure they.
But what if the nuke doesn't kill him and Huck gets violent because they killed the bear?
Maybe it looks like he's being atomized there at the bottom, but
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So you did call, like you were talking about time travel a lot, and I was kind of poo-pooing that idea.
Only because I looked at the book ahead. I looked at the next issue.
You see, you do that, and then you say you don't do it, and then we catch you doing it.
Oh, no, I said it last time. The very first issue we're talking about it. I mentioned that you said, "Oh, we're talking about this one, not the one." So I was like,
I know. I'm saying, but then there's other times where you'll be like, "I don't do that. I don't look ahead." Anyways,
I don't always. This one I did.
So.
Because I'm like you, I don't want to do where you're like, Mark says, oh, all these people are being killed off, and at the end, they're magically brought back.
So it looks like, obviously, there was time travel in the issue, so we don't even have to speculate anymore. But I'm kind of glad it was used the way that it was. What I was really worried about was what you seem to be suggesting, which was like, we do the whole story, and then at the end, we all time travel, and then fixed it, and it's over. Like, that would be terrible. But if time travel,
how does she even get back?
If time travel is done in the middle, what I'm saying is, if time travel is done in the middle of the story,
and
it then gives them a tool to work things, then that's not so bad.
So that's explain how does she get back?
We don't know.
65 million years ago.
That's one of the hooks. Like,
is there a king?
Well, and presumably, that's like the only juice there was, right? Like she can't do another jump.
Yeah.
So she's
No.
trapped 65 million years ago. But let's take a second when we're getting a little theory craft. We'll get to the theory crafting here in a minute. Let's let Zach. What
Well,
I want
real
to hear what
quickly,
Zach's got to say.
I want to say real quick with the magic order. They did say if we get involved, should we go let them die? But she said they said so. There's karma coming to the villains by them killing off the heroes. They did allude to that.
Yep.
But go speak, Zach. Speak.
Can I? Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
That's about right. No, yeah. I mean, this was good. This was. I mean, I feel like it was a little too close in tone to issue number 2, where it's like, here's these characters you love, boom, they're dead. Here's these characters you love, and they're dead. So it is very similar. I did like how, we kind of have the time travel elements still involved. Even if the Chrononauts are dead, we still have like technology we can still use to time travel. I am curious to see like what happens with Hit Girl, because unless she's able to no, and that wouldn't even make sense. So I was thinking, like, if she's able to like live throughout all the centuries and centuries up till the current day, and then she could warn people, but I don't think that would happen because she would age and die well before then.
Right now,
But
there's no way to think of any possible
yeah,
way she could do that.
yeah. So I really don't know. I really hope that it's not as easy as just the Magic Order decides to break the rules and come in and change everything.
Yeah, that would
Because
feel
I
kind
think
of cheap.
that would feel very cheap for a Mark Millar story. I just expect better from him. If he
Mhm.
does it, I mean, look, he brings back all the characters. Yeah, I'd be happy about it, but it would just be like a really cheap way of getting there. I would feel like it wasn't worth it.
You know what it would feel
Uh,
like? It would feel like how every time like Marvel has the Watcher break his rule,
yeah,
like I can't get involved. I can't. We just watch, and then it's like, oh, this is really bad, so I'm gonna interfere. And it's like, okay, so the Watcher just did his thing in power, and it's like, oh, okay, like
yeah,
it always feels cheap. I hate when the Watcher gets involved.
yeah. But yeah, no, overall, I mean, I like it a lot. I mean, I definitely it's got me interested in Huck now. I just finished reading the first collection of Prodigy books, and I really liked Prodigy.
I'm glad you did.
Uh, yeah, so I want to go pick up there's a second volume
Yeah,
with him out that I want to
I
read.
like the second one
And
even better.
oh, really? Oh, okay.
I did. You may not, but it's a little bit
Okay.
different in its flavor and tone.
Okay.
So you may like I don't know, like, but definitely it doesn't just feel like rinse and repeat. And I
Okay.
appreciated that. It's to me it took Prodigy to another level than the first one, which I liked, but you may or may not. But either way, I think they're both fun.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, so after I'm done with that though, I definitely want to look at reading Huck. Because yeah, this definitely piqued my interest in that character. So, and then Kingsman too. I've seen the Kingsman movies. I love the Kingsman movies. I do need to read the comics though. I like how they made Eggsy here look a lot like the actor in the movie,
Yeah.
or maybe he
And
actually looked like
and
that.
let's just take a
See the thing.
moment too to just appreciate Pepe Larraz. Like
Pepe Larraz, man,
I
is
love
just
this top
awesome.
panel
Yeah.
here, Eggsy like flipping over backwards. Like this is such a cool scene. It's just it's just
Yeah.
eye candy. Like every page is just eye candy to look at. And the coloring just it just pops.
Yeah. What he said about the whole Red on Green, that's probably on my next thing too. If you ever do the book club again, that's probably the next thing I'm gonna read is the Kingsman, because I watched the movie, and I liked the movie, but you know who liked the movie? Wasn't Eggsy. I like Colin Firth.
In the
Colin
first
Firth character
movie.
was in the first movie, and I really didn't care of the Kingsman movies after that. And it's kind of like I liked Wanted, but that's nothing like the book. So I'm hoping like the book is so much better than like if our Kingman is so much better than the actual movie,
Yeah.
because
I really
that
did
seems to
like
be
the
the
first
case.
movie, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
It's a similar thing with Kick-Ass. None of
Kick-Ass is
this,
nothing
none of
like the comic book.
yeah,
Yeah,
none of his stuff is exactly the same. But I see what you're saying.
I couldn't believe how much awesome Wanted the book series was compared to the movie.
Yeah, the book is
I
fun.
was like, really? Holy crap! It's a totally different story. I mean, I like seeing Angelina Jolie, but that's young Angelina Jolie, should they say back then, because that was early 2000s.
Yeah, the movie is
But
like loosely associated. Like it's you can see they
yeah,
took the ideas that Mark had, but also kind of ran with their
yeah.
own.
Also, the first appearance of Chris Pratt. At least I
I
remember
I forgot
be,
he was in that.
being the yeah, he is the jerk in the office, always giving crap. And at the end, he hits him with the keyboard. And I love how Chris Pratt actually he brought that up like about it was last year, and saying like it's like he's like, hey, there's so much fun working on the movie. But yeah,
So in this, we're talking about theory crafting. I can't remember if it was in the Nemesis comic or if it was in the early like the first book of this. Remember where they found that deep underground chamber and there was
yeah,
like
Yeah.
that head?
this is a big game.
Okay, so it wasn't Big Game.
Yeah, because remember Prodigy got killed.
Right. But they found
It was,
and
I think it
remember
was
like
book
that
two.
this chamber had existed. Like they're talking about it's like prehistoric.
That's
Remember?
what I'm saying. It could be a time travel thing through that.
Right. No, what I'm getting at is so Hit Girl just went 65 million years in the past.
Yeah,
Maybe there's a
that's where.
character existing in this time. That person that seemed to be a statue of or something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh yeah, all the dinosaurs they found around there. They found all the dinosaur stuff.
yeah, right.
No,
I have a feeling her adventures in the past are going to be related to whatever that was. And
and when she comes
maybe
back, she's
that
gonna have all the
guy was a super powered being of some sort. Like, like what was that room? What
when she comes back, she's gonna have an army of dinosaurs to go against the villains. Uh, I just want to see guys, the guys in the guns are like, oh crap! They're firing the guns, and the raptors are just chewing them apart. Something like that. Uh, but dude, like I said, talking about setting up the theme, you see, when him and Fox jump down, it's a like playtime's over, kid. You're cute, but now it's like, I love that because, and then I love the fact that for this series they aged him up really well because if they would have went with the original Wesley, if they saw the end of Wanted in the books, it wouldn't have been. It felt as like him as menacing. Because he was
right.
just a punk kid, you know. And even at the end, like after all this, I remember in the Wanted series, he originally, he got sick of it. He didn't want to be. He enjoyed the life, but he just didn't want to like be part fully of the full villain. And then he's kind of like brought in the fold, and like I love how he like just how he takes over things. Finally finds his place, but man, that gun though, it's got phosphorus gun or something. But
So this
I
is a
was just
big
kind of
game
sad
one.
because where's Nemesis now?
Here was
There.
that
See?
place that they went to. So everything
And as you
you
look,
found as
yeah,
old as the dinosaurs. This tears up everything we understand about human history. Which when we saw this before, we're like, okay, what's that about? But now that we know the Hit Girl entered the past 65 million years ago, she's basically influenced the past. Like this has got to be clearly tied into whatever she's doing in the past now.
and they show you the bones and stuff. I think there's other stuff besides the skeletons. If you go down, right there's humans. Yeah. Okay, I thought maybe there was actually some other stuff there, but so that's kind of crazy. That's like, if you look at that, it almost looks like a giant Hulk creature. But
And she
yeah,
mentions a
this is
thing here that the real
yeah.
story is so much more awful than you could imagine. come with me, I'll fill in the blanks. Like, what is this deep, dark secret? Like, is this like living some sort of god of the past, and maybe like the reason why there are superpowers is because of these ancient
Got it from him.
beings? Like, I don't know where Mark's going with this, but it's clearly important.
It's Prometheus.
Yeah, something
Like aliens.
clearly important.
Oh, maybe it's their version of Thanos. They killed him.
Well, it
You know, like
evokes to me as
some
um,
kind of god, and like
no,
they and
Apocalypse. You're not a
or
real
yeah,
big
maybe
X-Men
yeah,
person, but like Apocalypse is like this ancient Egyptian being.
yeah. He's been lived forever. Yeah, it was like their version of Vandal Savage, like with
We just don't,
powers.
it's just a head. Like, is it a statue? I don't think it's like
Or is it actually, or is it a preserved head?
right. I think it's just a carved like statue thing, but
I would hope so. Yeah, right there. It looks like a stone. Yeah, actually, though.
yeah. So, but then again, then who carved it? Right? Like, is there
Come with
so
me, and
many
I'll fill in all the blanks.
so many unanswered
Yeah.
questions? But I'm like, oh, I love that this is like connected. It's got to be connected.
Well, yeah, really ordinary people, real, and like I look at the bold letters, because I was wondering,
Right.
like, those actually play into something like emphasis.
That's a good question. It could be. Typically, when you see the bold, that means like you pronounce it more like emphasis. So, like in the second balloon here, is like there really is a group of individuals who make it their business to hide the truth from ordinary people. Like it's like extra emphasis on the pronunciation.
The real story. So
Exactly.
much more of it. Yeah.
Exactly.
But he said, I love how you go back to the first issue and it's filling in the blanks down. You
Yep.
just get the row, like, go back.
Anyways, I had so much fun with this book. I'm an unabashed Mark Miller fan. So there you have it. I hope you guys have been listening. You've been enjoying this book.
Honestly, I do hope we get to see more of the Magic Order towards the end. But my thing is, I'm worried now. Where the hell is Nemesis that he's not in this issue? What is he doing? Who's left for him to go after?
Good question.
Who's left to kill? I thought Hit Girl was the last person.
Well, we've got Dave Lazowski. He's still around.
Yeah. So is she gonna save Dave at the very end? Because they saw him and like him thinking like Dave's gonna come out and like Dave's gonna get killed and the Magic Order's just sitting there. It's like, yep, we can't do anything to help. So at the very end,
I could see that happening. That's kind of a trope for Kick-Ass. Is like Hit Girl saves him.
Hit Girl and Kick-Ass are the new leaders of like a superhero league.
That would be. I think that would just make me giddy if this whole big game turned out to be sort of like an encore of Kick-Ass and Hit Girl.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Like a comeback tour, just like, hey, remember this old series I did? Let's bring those characters back for one last time. Like one big story.
Yeah, because like they have obviously he's been retired. He hasn't done anything. We don't know how little contact they have or not, or if they have any contact whatsoever. And then remember, and she seemed like she never wanted to let the dream up. Like at least what I've seen from the movie and a little bit of the Reddit comics, she was more into it, because it was her dad's legacy. She wanted to continue it and everything. So like imagine Kick-Ass coming back and like just like now they are because this whole entire time Dave has always wanted to be a hero, but he gave it up because it was a childish dream, kind of like that. Reality set in. But now he actually gets a chance where he's the real hero. He doesn't need that other, or the group that just gets a lot of ambassadors. He doesn't need them because he already is a hero, and he's like the best hero along with Hit Girl. Like that'd be awesome, And then him. Can you imagine future stories having like teams up, Dave and Kick-Ass, or Kick-Ass and Hit Girl teaming up with the nightclub, like my thing is like I hope they don't have as like the final face off is where they have Nemesis fighting against Hit Girl and then Dave sacrifices himself. That would suck. But look, here you go. It's like it's your Hulk version Kang, almost it looks like.
Yeah, this is totally an Apocalypse feeling to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But right, what I was saying, I mean, I had forgotten that this was at the end of the book, but
Yep.
so clearly Hit Girl, and on the cover here, and of course covers can be misleading, but looks
in
like she's got some
shackles.
sort of shackles on, yeah. So she's in the past, and there's some being living in this period who captures her, but clearly something's gonna go on. Like whatever this is going to
Yeah.
affect the story. Like, um, I'm excited. This is just so much fun. This is like what I love about comics, man. This
Yeah.
I love big stories like this. This is like the X-Men used to do stories like this just all the time. Big imaginative, world-shaking events that with fun characters. I'm so glad that Mark Miller's doing this, and I'm so glad that he's uniting his books, like so it feels like a shared universe. It makes me forget the need, because before I would read his books and be like, yeah, these are good books, but I wish they were in the Marvel or DC universe. You know, like because I missed the world. But now it's like, well, I'll just make my own world. I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. I don't need it
Did you see
now.
what Marania said? That
Hmm.
the Huck, what if Huck becomes like a Hulk-like creature because of the bombing? It adds to it, like, and it mutates him. You know, and he has like the Cub as a sidekick. I'm like, Hulk and Cub, awesome.
Why not Lone Hulk and Cub, Lone Huck and Cub?
Yeah, but yeah. Yeah, and then I guess he's continuing his American Jesus trilogy thing.
So yeah,
Is this gonna be tied to it at all?
this is a
Yeah.
this is a reprint, I think.
What was it? Somebody in a chat, I forget where it was, but somebody was like, "Wouldn't it be wild if Mark Millar's American Jesus just came out of nowhere and just like saved everyone?"
And yeah, and it's like it's randomly tied to it, and then you have the Magic Order. Like, oh crap!
That would be wild and hilariously
I
unexpected.
don't
The
know if
Magic
this-
Order can involve, but you find out who's orchestrating the whole entire time is this American Jesus character, the Chosen One.
I think this is a new
He's
book
the real evil. Yeah,
because they've done 2 American Jesus books. So I think this is the 3rd one. They're
Big
putting the name
collection.
Chosen One because
Yeah.
the Netflix show they retitled it. They're not calling
Yeah.
it American Jesus. They're calling it the Chosen
No,
One.
yeah.
So that gives it some brand cohesion. It's still kind of weird because the Netflix changed him to a Mexican. It's not even American anymore.
American Jesus.
The Mexican Jesus.
Yeah, he come to America. He became a painter. He's Jesus.
So I haven't watched it and I haven't read this book. This is like the last. I'm hesitant to do this because I don't like to. I have no desire to read sacrilegious stuff. I don't know if this is. I don't know until I read it. You know, if this is just a thing where people think he's Jesus, but he's not. Okay, that's different. But if he's writing a story where it's like, no, this is the return of Jesus. I mean, no, Mark, no, don't.
I don't know if it was the return of Jesus. I thought it was just like, what if Jesus was born in the modern day era instead of 2,000 years ago?
I still,
Which
I would have
I've
big
heard-
qualms with that too. But
I've seen it done before. They actually had like a whole rock opera about a similar premise a while back. I forgot what the band was, but one of the guys, it was like a Christian rock band, and he decided to put together this whole story of what if Jesus was born in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and it's the same story. It's the same story that you read in the Gospels, but it's like just made more. It's set in more modern day versus in the ancient history.
right, but you're necessarily violating scripture because the gospels are more than just, hey, there was this dude and he was born in Bethlehem and he died. Like there's ties to the Old Testament that make the events that happened 2,000 years ago relevant. And if you translate it and say, well, let's reimagine and say, what if it happened in America? Well, then you break all those connections to the Old Testament, which are kind of what make the gospel what it is. And that's a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah,
For but
yeah.
if you're a believer, if Jesus is God to you, then this it's not it's shaky ground. I believe that God needs to be treated as holy, not just as our entertainment thing, and we can fictionalize
Yeah.
him. So I get worried about
Well,
that.
that's
Now
what.
I do
Well, that.
recognize the possibility of telling a story where a character exists and he has these abilities, and the world at large mistakes him and thinks like, "Oh, you're Jesus," like, and maybe he's not actually. Then I go, "Okay, that's possible." I don't know where the story goes. I just know it's called American Jesus, and to me, I go, "That sounds like it could be really bad," but I don't know. So
Sounds like
I don't know anyone who's
sounds like
read
the
it who can
current
tell
plot
me.
of that. Sounds like the current plot of the Daryl Dixon show, or like they like the first like this kid who basically survived. His mother was bit by a zombie, but he survived being born without. Like, oh, and the one girl's like, oh, he's the next Messiah. Or like, I was like, no, but then you find out that he's not. I was like, oh my gosh, I hate when the people when they do that stuff. I was like, dodge the bullet there.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, how much Kirkman has influence on any of those spin-off shows. Because they
Um,
probably just give him recognition. That's probably it.
yeah,
I mean, not
probably
much
not a
because
lot. They probably like ask him, "Hey, what about this?" And he's like, "I got," like, and if they like his ideas, they're like, "Oh, okay, we'll run with that." If they don't, they're like, "Okay, thanks. We'll go this way instead."
yeah,
By the way, here's a big fat
because
check. You know.
yeah, right. It's like it's like you bring the kid. It's like dude, be the guy who creates something, and then you like somebody else comes in like wants to like, hey, I'll buy this off you. It's like buying. It's like you having a son with your wife, and then the studio is like, hey, we want to buy your child. And you're like, for how much though? And they're like, it's like they finally sell it. It's like those guys get so attached to their products, but letting other people do stuff with it, like it's just for right amount of money. It's tricky, man. Because like, do you want like to make money off it, or do you kind of want to sit there and just like and then let it just kind of fade from obscurity? Like
Yeah.
Walking Dead, whether you like the show or not, it's still being talked about. Walking
Hmm.
Dead shows,
Yeah.
and it brings go check out his books that he originally did, so he makes money that way. Imagine if he said, "No, we're not going to do this because you're going to woke it up," So screw that. And then he just fade in the background. So I mean, it sucks, man. What are you gonna do though
What are you gonna do? I
when they
don't
come
know.
for you?
What I do know is next week it's gonna be Robert Kirkman week. Speaking of Robert Kirkman,
Ooh
Void,
boy.
on my
Void
pull
Town, right?
list are 2 Robert Kirkman
Or Void
books,
Rivals?
Firepower and Void Rivals.
Nice, nice.
Both are fun
Heck
books.
yeah.
Is that the last Firepower?
No.
No.
The last one doesn't come out till December. So
Mm.
we still have like 3 issues to go after this one.
I haven't looked to see, but
Yeah, I think issue 30 is the last one.
Yeah, it
So
is.
it's kind of it's gonna be a sad time. Gotta enjoy it while we can. Hopefully Void Rivals eases the pain of losing it. But both of them are currently really fun. I'm enjoying both, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying both because it's fun to talk about. So I'm assuming, I don't like to always assume, but I'm assuming those will be the books we'll be talking about next week.
Sounds like it to me.
sounds good.
Speaking of new books, here's what the new books are. I'll put those up on screen for you guys in the background. And
The final issue of Ultimate Invasion comes out this week too.
big issue
The
4. Marvel's pulling all the
I
stops out
know.
with a 4-issue
Holy
series.
crap! I forgot that Ram V's actually doing Detective Comics. It's been so long.
Yep, he's back. It's the number 1
Yeah.
pulled book on League of Comic Geeks. Which
And
is
the
kind
new
of
Flash
surprising.
there. You getting that, Zach?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna buy it and give it a shot. I like to be an informed customer.
I'll read it online and give it a shot.
I'm kind of excited that Void Rivals is in the
Second
in
row.
the second row for pulled books.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that.
Hopefully it's doing well. People are excited about it. Detective
Um,
and Ultimate Invasion seem like solid picks. Green Arrow, I guess if you're who's doing Green Arrow?
That is Josh Williamson
yep.
and
Okay, yeah.
Sean Isaac is the artist. So yeah, that's been good so far.
Mark Guggenheim's X-Men: Days of the Future Past. Number 3 is coming out.
Yeah,
As well.
I've not been following. I need to give that a try.
But if this is true, and then League of Comics is lying to me, Conan the Barbarian number 3 comes out. So
probably not. Probably next week. If it's
I know.
anything like
This is why I'm like, I still have to do my thumbnail for tomorrow's stream, but I'm holding off. I'm like, you bastards are gonna like change the last minute. Like, yeah, that one you really are excited for on your thumbnail is no longer coming out this week. That always happens. Blade Runner comes out this week too, I believe.
and here's Power Girl number 1. Zach, you gonna be picking that up?
Stuff of Nightmares.
No, I'm on a budget. I gotta keep my budget.
Power Girl's got her own book, and you're not getting it. It's Leah Williams.
And if she was under Marvel's editorial, it'd be more incentive.
So if she has that look inside the book as well, I might read it. Yeah.
Power Girl stars in her own epic ongoing series.
But if it's the same artist, though.
Pretty, punchy, and powerful. After the events of Night Terrors, a long-dormant Kryptonian threat has returned to take down Superman and his family. Who could possibly stop it? Well, according to the Man of Steel, it's Power Girl. Witness a road trip race against time as Paige reconnects with her roots to save the world from her deadly past. Power Girl's special writer Leah Williams returns with artist Eduardo Pansica, known in Supergirl, for an ongoing series of epic proportions.
I don't know who she's talking about. Power Girl's alias is Karen Starr. I don't know who this Paige person is. That's not Power Girl.
I have no idea. All I know is this book's destined to not last more than 12 issues.
Power Girl works best. She's one of those characters that I feel works best with a team. The Justice Society is the main one that comes to mind. She's one that it's like, Wonder Man or Tigra, like these great Avengers characters. They work great on the Avengers team, but their solo books are just kind of like, It's kind of the same way with Power Girl.
So Usagi Yojimbo is making a return with new publisher Dark Horse.
Nice.
I'm a little worried about the subtitle here, Usagi Yojimbo Ice and Snow, because I don't want Dark Horse to be doing a bunch of miniseries. I just want ongoing. So I don't know. But I'm going to be picking it up because, Usagi Yojimbo is great, and Dark Horse is a better publisher than IDW. So the problem is this $4.99. Maybe, I don't know. I don't like to support $4.99.
Tell me how you really feel.
I don't like $4.99 books.
I hear that.
And Dark Horse is that Dark Horse and Boom are just like, let's just raise the price. So, but it is Usagi, so I'm a fan. There's a new Godzilla book out here for that's number 2. I know Venkman's been digging his Godzilla. I don't see much else that I'm excited for. What about you guys?
No, we pretty much touched on all the books on my pull list for this week. It's not a huge list, so.
Oh, here's a book for you, Zach. Sainted Love.
Why is that a book for me? I don't understand.
Because you like saints and you like love.
I like the Saints, as in the New Orleans Saints. Although I don't like them now because they blew a huge lead yesterday, and now it's possible that our quarterback is injured.
Come on, look at this. What? How are you going to avoid seeing this on the shelf and not picking it up?
Very easily, actually.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I bet this publish. I mean, this is an itty bit. I bet you my shop doesn't even have one copy of this ordered. I bet.
It's a Vault Comics.
I
Remember when Vault used to be known for
I
like great stuff?
did they really? I had
Yeah, it's
no
where Ram
idea.
V got to start.
Oh, is it really? It what with Savage Shores? V
Yep.
Savage Shores.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, they lost the best thing that they had, I guess.
And
Ram
now
V's
they're
gone.
doing Gay Men Comics. Exciting.
Yeah.
All right. This is interesting. I read the first issue of this comic Yojimbot, which is cool. It's like a European comic. It's got really cool art. You know me, I love Samurai, Samurai Robot. It's kind of interesting. But this is weird. They have issues 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3 all coming out the
I
same
hate the
week.
points.
I don't know what
I
that's
hate the
all
decimal
about.
points. I know Marvel used to do those when they would have like some events and they would have these tie-in issues. They would do like issue 5.1. And I'm just like, no, don't do a decimal point. Go the distance and just give it a number 6. The decimals are confusing. But
All right. So here's a book for RDV. Still with us, RDV? Did he disappear?
he said his internet dropped.
Oh no.
He might be back in here in a minute.
Well, maybe it's for you then. Poontang the comic. It's the best hits of Poon and the smattering of smut from Tang. 2 out of print comics published from the Comics Company, plus a never before printed comic Adventure Club tale. It's a lot to pack into 36 pages, but we pulled it off. Well, anyways, it was gross. Adults only.
Yeah. Nope. Nope. I'm
I saw
buying
the
that.
cover and I thought it was a wacky cover, and then I realized it's just smut.
I'm not adult enough for that.
Yeah, no one is. I don't see anything else. I'm kind of curious about this book. I don't know anything about it, but it's got a cool name. Savage Strength of Starstorm.
A lot of S's.
Yeah, a little bit of a tongue twister there, but it's got capes. It just got this kind of cool like 70s vibe
Yeah.
to it, and I'm just like, all right, I'm curious what you're doing. It's an image book. I don't really know who the creators are, Drew Craig,
Yeah.
but I'm
Not familiar with
interested.
either.
I'm like curious. It could be cool. But I don't know anything about it.
This is issue number 5 too, huh?
Yeah, issue 5.
I hadn't even heard of this one before.
All right. Well, it looks like RDV is run out and blamed his internet. It's a pretty clever excuse. Only works one time. But no, I get it. My internet's gone.
He must use the same internet service that Ronald Rugg or Trusty Sidekick uses.
He says no one noticed. We noticed. It's kind of. I was noticing I wasn't getting interrupted every 5 seconds. I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?"
Oh!
Yeah, we noticed RDV's not on the sound machine for us.
I'm
No,
actually surprised they don't have an air horn on the soundboard.
they do.
Oh, they do? Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
mine was better. I think so, anyway.
Well, RDV, we miss you. We're kind of at the end of the stream. I was hoping you were going to be able to get back. Zach, you got any final things to say?
Well, things to say. Not particularly. Some good comics this past week. Looks like another batch of good comics coming up this week. Yeah, I don't really know that I have too much to add to that. If you are listening to this and you want to know more about some of the books that are coming out this week, you could go over to the Geeky Puppet Show channel tomorrow at around 8 o'clock Central. And not Frog. God, I'm so used to being with that frog. RDV and I will be talking about a lot about this week's comic books. So we'll go into a little bit more detail there. But yeah, no, really excited. Not this week. I didn't realize this was this close, Ash. Not this week, but next week is Daniel Warren Johnson's first Transformers issue.
What? I thought that was in December.
No, it starts next week.
We'll
First week
skip
in
ahead here
October.
to next week. Let's see. Look at your boys.
What do we got?
Fantastic Four is in the first row.
Yeah. Almost
Yeah.
like people are liking it or something.
Almost. Oh yeah, there's Hickman's new
dinosaurs.
book comes out. Isn't he doing Gods?
Yeah, the new Gods, which is also a $9.99. I hope they're paying Hickman all the extra money they're charging.
$9.99? Are you out of your mind?
I guess they are. It's a 64-page book for for almost $10, which is insane to me. Like I said, I hope Hickman is collecting a large bulk of that, because that is bonkers.
That's
But
crazy. $9.99.
yeah,
That's just gonna get you off on a bad foot. I mean, you're gonna get some people buying it,
yeah.
but it's not like I remember when the King in Black came out and it was $8.99
Yeah.
for that, and I was like, oh my goodness. But at least that was a huge like event, and people knew about Venom, and there'd been build up into the Null, and there was like background to it. This has nothing. People are just
This
you're
is
just coming,
this is entirely new. These are
right,
new
like
characters. There's nothing. Yeah.
it would have been like DC launching Rom V's The Vigil and being like, let's charge $10 for it, and you're just like, you haven't made a
What
name
now?
for yourself, you know, like. I get that Hickman is a big name, but no one's invested in this this Gods thing. Like, if this were
Also, they also literally just pulled the whole $9.99 for the last book, the last #1 Hickman did. So it's like you guys just did a $10 book with Hickman like 3 months ago
no,
with Ultimate Invasion. So I don't know. I am intrigued by it. It does seem to be really up Hickman's alley as far as like sci-fi and like, you know, really crazy complicated sci-fi and meta stuff. But and I do like Valerio Shitty, however you say it.
I think it's Skeety.
I hope it okay, good. Skeety. I do like his art style. So I like excuse me. I like that I'll be able to see some of that again. But yeah, $9.99. That's insane. Even for a 64-page book, I feel like that's an insane amount.
That's an insane amount. Yeah, that's where we are.
We used to be a proper society. Meanwhile, Transformers #1 is only half of that.
Yeah, let's go to Transformers #1. This is what I will be getting. I mean, I'm a Transformers fan, but not necessarily like a comic book fan. But Daniel Warren Johnson,
Yep.
I mean, whatever he writes and draws, I'm a fan. I'm a Daniel Warren Johnson fan. So I'm going to take what I can get. He knows how to write heart, and I can't wait to see what he does with this. And yeah, there you go. I'm just surprised that this is out this quick. It's $4.99 cover price. Hopefully that's just a launch price.
Yeah, I hope so. Let me see here. Yeah, once you get down to like 2 and 3, it goes down $1.
Okay.
It goes down to $4.
Paying $1 more for like a bigger first issue, not a terrible.
Yeah. It's the first. It says so. I don't know how effective this will actually be, but it's saying that it is the first appearance of Bumblebee and Optimus Prime and all these different Transformers in the Energon universe. This is their first appearance, is what
Right.
they're saying.
And
So
technically, there's something
technically,
to do
yeah,
that. I
but
mean, especially if this Energon universe turns into a thing.
yeah, oh yeah, between Transformers and GI Joe and Void Rivals, whatever else he throws in here.
Now, with Gods, the second issue is only $4.99.
Yeah, which is like how Ultimate Invasion went. Issue number 1 was $10, and then it dropped down, I think, to like $4 or $5 for issue number 2, and I
You
think 3 was the same.
You know, the irony about this is, like, I would rather pay $4.99 for twice for 2 issues than $9.99 for 1 book. And I don't know why. I mean, I kind of know
Yeah,
why that is, but I just think big expensive comic books are a bad deal. I'd rather have them broken up into smaller pieces and pay in monthly increments, smaller amounts, so I can get more books. The problem with
yeah,
9.99 comics is like, well, if I'm only buying 1 comic, that's no big deal. But if I'm buying a bunch of comics, I I don't want them
yep.
all, like, you just it's not sustainable.
You could buy, if you're careful and if you it depending on the title, you could potentially get 3 normal comic books for roughly the same price as that one number 1,
Yeah.
which is insane to me. But yeah, I honestly I would rather. Marvel used to do this, not a lot, but they did it a couple times. They used to do these original graphic novels where they would take a whole story and they wouldn't put out individual issues. They would just put it all together in a hardcover, like a small hardcover. It'd be like the size of a trade paperback. They did it with Avengers twice, I think, actually. I think they did one with Thanos or Adam Warlock. It's like their OGNs, or original graphic novels. I would rather see them do that with this than here's a $10 issue and then here are a bunch of $5 ones. But I guess in theory they get more money this way. So.
Well, yeah, because lots of people will get the number 1 and there's drop off. Usually like a number 2 issue has like 50% drop off or more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you if you sell a $4.99 and a $4.99, let's say you have 20,000 copies of issue number 1 and then you go down to 10,000 number 2. But if you sell it at $9.99, theoretically if you sell 20,000, you know what I'm saying, like they just want
Yeah.
as much of that front end money, which it's good for the short term, but comics is a long term game. These companies need
Yeah.
to be thinking long term, but whatever. They're the ones. I'm not going to get it. If it's that amazing, if everyone's like, oh, this is so good, I'll check the trade out. you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
That's what you gotta do. Look for the trade. Yep.
um, but speaking of interesting books, I had an opportunity to check this out. Sacrificers by Rick Remender.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I heard about this one.
and it is very interesting. And it's made me, well, it's not made me, but it did bring back some sentimental memories of Skip. Skip is kind of the guy who got me into Rick Remender, and also kind of pointed out how Rick Remender can be very hit or miss, because sometimes Rick likes to do the really gross, like edgy, disgusting kind of stuff, and I remember Skip was like kind of put off by that, which I kind of was too. And so I'm always worried about that. It's like, well, what's this new book going to be, that he's doing? And so I wasn't sure. And I read the first issue of Sacrificers, and it's still in the first issue, but it really feels like this is not the gross Rick. This is the cool, what I like about. And he's telling a story that you might be interested in, Zach. It's a weird sci-fi tale that seems to involve godly figures that is roughly allegorical to, you know, uh, religion that we understand. Like, it's not telling a Jesus story or a God story, but it's telling a story that tells the elements that you get from like the Bible, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
But it's
Okay.
redoing it when its own fiction and stuff. And I really like that. I like when secular stories still manage to tell the truths of God in their tales. And it's even like they're not even aware of it, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
to them it's
Yeah.
just this weird fantasy. I'm like, "Oh no, no. This is kind of." And I don't want to like try to tell anyone that this is like a holy story. It's not, but what I appreciated was that there was heart and humanity to it, which is very interesting because there's no human characters. Um, and so I'm very it's hooked me, I'll say. I'm very curious to see where this goes. This character here on this cover, I don't know his name, but he appears to be the sun god. So in this world, the sun rises, and just like ancient people used to believe, ideas to me makes for an interesting world. He's got a daughter that's very rebellious and doesn't like him. Her face has a tattoo of a moon on it. And so you're like, "Oh, is his daughter the moon?" Like you're kind of wondering. Um there's a character that's like an abused child of a father that ends up having to give him up for sacrifice. And I don't know, there's this I can't even really describe it, but there's a lot of heart and a lot of spiritual undertones to it. And like I said, like I like so far, Rick Remender hasn't gone into his normal disgusting kind of edgy sort of stuff with like sex and drugs and all. Like he's not telling that. He's telling this what seems to be a story that has a lot of heart and humanity to it, and yet doesn't use any human characters, as I said. But anyways, I'm gonna read more. I've only read the first issue. I was very curious about it before because I do think when Rick Remender's on point, when he hits a home run, like he hits it out of the park. So I was kind of hoping, crossing my fingers, that this might be it. It is very weird so far, but I like that. It's a weird in a good way. It's one of those things where like I haven't really feel like I've seen this before, and it's got me asking questions and wanting to know more, and that's always a good thing. And welcome back, RDB.
Man, I thought you guys were gonna end it. You guys are still going.
Well, we were waiting for you.
Yeah, I had to go from my router. My router decided to randomly crap out.
All right.
And
Well,
Dang.
there's no instructions, so I'm like, what's this little? I'm assuming it's a refresh button underneath the front part. It's for AT&T. It's like it looks like a PS5. My router. So I have no idea what the hell to do with it. They're like, oh, here's a QRC code to scan, so you know how to set up your router. I'm like,
what you do is
so
you unplug it for 30 seconds.
I unplugged my fiber optics. And I plugged my fiber optic back in.
Well, you
Didn't
can do
touch the router at all.
that, but that won't
Yeah.
reset your router. Unplugging your router
Well,
will
Well, it actually did reset my router though. That's the thing.
well, if your router was powered on the whole time, it won't.
I don't know. I got internet back now.
Yeah, that may not have been the problem, but if you were trying to troubleshoot and
Yeah.
reset your router, that wouldn't have done it. But regardless, you got internet, so we're happy to have you back. It's
On to hour 2.
no, it's time to go. I was trying to get out of here actually before my birthday, so I could still be under 50 before.
You know,
we went.
you know the best thing about my internet dropping? I got to use the restroom.
Yeah, I also have to use the restroom.
I had my McDonald's messed up my order, so I ended up getting a free Coke. So I had 2 Cokes in me.
Oof.
You know, right?
All right. Well, I got one more minute. It's time to go.
Alrighty.
I'm gonna
Congrats,
skip
kids.
out while I'm still young, and I will see you guys when I'm 50.
When you're
later,
really, really old.
When I'm really old. I mean, now I'm Breen's
I'm
generation.
an old man. Yep.
All right. I think we're
All right.
done. Thanks for joining
I think
us.
so.
Everyone listening, thanks for joining. If you're listening on the later time in the future, thanks for listening. And I will see you guys back for Robert Kirkman week next week.
Nice. Gonna be
You want?
fun.
Hey Ash, do you know how old you are? The kids today don't know what Pong is.
Kids today don't even know what Nintendo. Well, I do know what Nintendo is. I don't know what Atari is. All right, time to go. It's gonna be 1 minute. Gotta go. Bye.
Bye.